great to be a Jet fan today. In any event, good morning and welcome to the first Monday of the NFL playoffs.
Yes, sir.
Yep. A couple things took place.
You got a lot to talk about, Craig.
A couple things took place this weekend, including the biggest failure of them all by the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to tell you just one second. That guy right there is David Jacoby.
All right there.
I saw the promo, pound for pound, the best co-host in the business, it said.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Willie, you were in there.
You know,
this guy right here, of course, the Super Bowl champion, Mr. Willie Colon.
Hello.
It is Monday. There was football. There's more football later today and tonight, but let's get you started. First off with, good morning, everybody. Here's your Monday morning
headlines.
Well, I don't know what to say other than...
Go, Pack, go!
Yeah, it was an embarrassing no-show. I mean, dudes open by 25 yards. That was a tight end nobody ever heard of. And the Dallas Cowboys suffered, I think, not even arguably, the worst postseason loss in that franchise's history. Ooh. They were the number 2 seed. They had home field all the way to the NFC Championship game. A team that barely got into the playoffs went into their building and said, what did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap! And it was embarrassing.
Man, this team was bullied, upset, and embarrassed at home, man. And we said it time after time, especially going into this game. This team will be judged about what they do in January.
Yep.
What the hell was that, Craig Carton?
It was a performance that gets a coach fired and tells the franchise no reason to extend your quarterback and give him $200 million because Dak Prescott reverted to the old Dak Prescott. He essentially threw 2 pick sixes.
Yeah.
They wound up, the Packers did score off the first one. The second one was returned to the house, but it was a no-show, like 27-0.
But Craig,
it was a wrap.
How does a team that's 8-0 in the regular season at home come in the first half of that game look like that? And by the way, I tell you all the time, body language is everything. After that first score, their eyes was just like, what is this? Yeah. Everybody in the huddle, they weren't talking to each other. The coaches looked like they was like, hey man, my controller's off. I don't know what to say. Like it was just bad football for the Dallas Cowboys in the first half.
And
of the
as
game.
bad as it was for Dak Prescott throwing those interceptions, of course, it was even worse, I thought, for Dan Quinn and Micah Parsons on defense. You know, the joke that he was the next Lawrence Taylor is a joke, but good news for Micah, since he cares so much about what the media says about him, he's got the entire offseason now to worry about his own podcast and improving, his media status nationwide. Because when the Cowboy offense did score, and they scored the touchdown to end the first half, they got the field goal out of the first possession of the third quarter. Now you're saying your defense, get us a 3 and out,
34-10
and let's see if we can at least make it interesting. And the defense is like, nah.
Now we go.
And all the headlines are going to be the beautiful passes from Love, but it was Aaron Jones on the ground.
Oh,
every time he touched the ball, he got 7 yards. Every single time.
Yeah, he could have had 5 touchdowns if he wanted it yesterday. Much more, of course, on the Dallas demise and what that means for the future of Dak Prescott, the future of Mike McCarthy, and, of course, the future for Jerry Jones, the 81-year-old owner. I will say this because I know he's watching right now. Lil Wayne.
Good job. Big day for Lil Wayne. Big day for Lil Wayne.
I feel bad for Keyshawn today. Anyhow, your second headline. Let's give love where it's deserved, not just Jordan, but the Detroit Lions. I love this game yesterday, 24-23. This was a playoff game.
This is the most competitive game
no
of the week.
doubt about it. And give the Rams a lot of credit. Stafford played his ass off. Puka Nacua was great. The whole thing. But here's what I love most about the Detroit Lions winning this game. Tight game, first playoff game in Detroit, in 32 years. And a lot of teams would have gone run, punt, cross your fingers, hold on, and hope to win a game. Dan Campbell said, I got a quarterback. I'm throwing the ball. I'm getting the first down. And then I'm going into victory formation.
Yeah, as great as Jared
I love that.
As great as Jared Goff was in this game, it's really with Jamar Gibbs in that run game. That was absolutely spectacular. You talk about really putting the onus on really coming downhill, putting the pressure on the Rams. By the way, Aaron Donald was on the field. That whole D-line, they couldn't get a pass rush. If you allow Jared Goff to sit in the pocket, he's going to do what he did last night. He picked them apart. So credit the Lions, man. They got their first home victory in a long time.
And now they're guaranteed another home game. They'll play the winner of tonight's Philadelphia-Tampa game, no matter what else happens. The winner of that game goes to Detroit, and that crowd was great. And we'll get into that game a lot more coming up. But it was the best game of the weekend for sure. And real quick before we take our first break, Kansas City made light work of the Miami Dolphins.
Told ya.
I got that one wrong for sure.
Told ya.
But let's not get crazy in Kansas City, please. You beat the 6th seed in 30 below temperature in your building.
What are we doing?
So let's just
What are we doing, Craig?
Let's just relax.
They held them to 7 points. They held this offense to 7 points.
This is an offense that scored 30 points a game, and all of a sudden we're supposed to take it easy on them?
I appreciate the attack. I'm good. I'm here for it. I will take the slings and arrows. Let's not get crazy just yet. Kansas City on its way to Buffalo next week. If the Bills beat the Steelers today.
If the Bills what?
Yeah. You know,
the Bills what?
You
If the
already
Bills
know.
what?
But before we get crazy, you won a playoff game at home. It was 30 below, and the other team lives in South Florida.
No.
Let's not get crazy.
No,
Congrats
we're not
on
gonna do
the
that,
win.
Craig. We're not going to do that.
But it wasn't great.
Everybody played in hostile weather. I mean, it is what it is. They didn't show up. They looked awful. Nothing worked for them. Nothing for the Dolphins.
I'm just not going to get carried away about a wild card win. That's
Just
all
don't
I'm
give
saying.
them a pass. You're giving them a pass.
All I'm saying.
Okay.
All right. I did learn this though. Tua is the Tongan Tim Tebow. That I learned that. I did.
It's tough.
All right, we got a great show for you today. A lot of the focus on the failure of America's team. Right?
What happened, Dallas?
No longer America's team.
The Dallas embarrassment next, right here on F to the S to the 1. All right, welcome back to the Carton Show. The story of the NFL is that the 9-8 Green Bay Packers went into Dallas, a place where the Cowboys hadn't lost a game in their last 16 attempts. That's right, 16 straight wins. And the Cowboy defense decided to play peekaboo and decided to play hide and seek.
Yep.
Because I've never seen a performance that bad at home from a team that had legitimate playoff aspirations. And I'm trying to figure out how that happens. Give Green Bay credit. The game plan, Jordan Love, throwing a lot like Aaron Rodgers, back foot, sidearm, all that stuff kind of looked like Aaron Rodgers a lot in that game. But where was Micah Parsons? Where was Lawrence? Where was Gilmore? Where was Brand? Where was this vaunted
defense?
Dallas Cowboy defense? And no joke, they could have given up 60 yesterday. They were lucky to only give up 48 points and down 27-0 again. The thing that's going to get me the most is that Dallas defense talked a lot of smack going all the way back to August when they called Dak Prescott a bitch, pardon me. Remember in a preseason practice, right? And now Dak Prescott, forget about his stats. They're bad.
Right.
I know it looks like, 400 yards. It was all in garbage time.
Right.
But that Dallas Cowboy defense did nothing.
Craig, when you come out the locker room a playoff game, your head should be on fire and you should be foaming at the mouth. You're talking about the opening drive for the Packers, man. They held the ball for 7 minutes and 52 seconds. Get off the field, right? And you're talking about with Jordan Love. I've never seen a quarterback in his first year starting, going into the playoff, look more comfortable than he
sure did.
Yeah. There was no sweat and there was no fear in his eyes. He delivered the football, and at time after time, they weren't just able to run the ball. They stood up tall in crucial situations. So if I'm Michael Parsons and his defense, man, you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, it's easy to blame Dak and Mike McCarthy and Jerry. Like, if I'm the defense right now, I'm not going outside for a month, man. This is embarrassing football.
Yeah, which brings up, obviously, Micah Parsons and Dan Quinn, right? Because if we're going to talk Mike McCarthy and Dak on the offensive side, and we'll get to that a little bit later on, this was a failure of epic proportions. Dan Quinn was thought of, like he was last year, as a top candidate to get a head coaching job. I wouldn't hire him now, because how do I sell my fan base on the fact that the guy that gave up 48 points to the Green Bay Packers at home is going to be my new head coach?
There's a rule. The news about Dan Quinn was, he wants to be a head coach again.
Yeah,
and he's
so
going
do
to be interviewing. It's like, well, guess what? Not after that performance. And this has been a thing that has been bubbling up all season long. And the very first time we saw it was in that Arizona game early in the season.
Yeah.
And James Conner just ran all over him.
Like
and
week 3 or something.
Yeah,
right?
and then we had that game against the Dolphins. And we had the game against the Lions where they were giving up these last-second drives. And then yesterday they just got absolutely dominated. This one play we're going to show here, the Musgrave touchdown, which I found more hilarious than anything else. It was Jordan Love just basically throwing the ball up in the air. Look at him. He stops, waits for it, catches it, and then you got to make that tackle right there, too. It's just like there's no one around. Look how open this is.
But this is what Dan Quinn was dealing with, right? Like, he had to get out of man coverage and start blitzing Jordan Love. And when he started blitzing, man, they started having foo bars like this. So this was indicative of how out of sync this Cowboys defense was at home.
Can you guys freeze that right there? Is that possible to do? So
I mean, I've seen punts covered.
The closest man next to him is the cameraman.
Yeah, like I sometimes you watch those like NFL shows, and the analyst goes, "Let me now, using technology, take all the defenders off the field."
We've all seen blown coverages, but I've just never seen it.
Craig, the Cowboys didn't have a sack. They had 3 quarterback hits in the game.
But like
Think
this
about that.
guy's 6'6" tall. He's tight end.
There's nobody around him.
No
Nowhere.
joke. Like he's closer to the fans than he is to a Cowboy defense.
He had enough time to hit a dance number and then go score.
He had to stop and
Like,
wait
that's how
for
bad
it.
it was.
Caught it and still got a
so
touchdown.
it's funny how things come full circle, right? So the Cowboys kind of sneak their way in as the 2 seed, right? They win the division because of the Eagle collapse. But I go back all the way to August. And I remember the rhetoric that we poo-pooed back in August, but it was out there at least. I think that Micah Parsons is the second coming of Lawrence Taylor.
No.
Excuse
No.
me?
No.
Excuse me? Because I know we got a couple holding calls against him. It was like the first time all year that the refs actually threw the flag on that. But the reality is this. Micah Parsons didn't exist in this game yesterday.
He didn't exist, and they ran right at him. Like, this was a situation. There's a lot of times, if you want to go back and watch this game, man, the Green Bay Packers ran right between the tackles, and they sent that tight end from the front side, and they chopped Micah Parsons down the backside, 88 out the gate. And it was time after time. And these are angry runs by Aaron Jones, by the way.
Angry
runs. Put the shoulders down, burrow in. By the way, I'm home. This is my house, and he did it big time. This Packers offensive line did a hell of a job of playing bully football, which is shocking because I thought the Dallas Cowboys defense at home were the bullies, and they got bullied.
Sure. Yeah, they got bullied. So now the question is, what do you do with Dan Quinn, right? Like, if you're the Dallas Cowboys and they have obviously some decisions to make about extending Dak Prescott or not, the whole Mike McCarthy decision, which I think is already done. He sealed his fate yesterday. You can't go 4 years. No. You don't win 40 games in 4 years and only have one playoff win and blow home field advantage up until the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers, a team that had to beat the Chicago Bears in the last regular season game just to get into the playoffs. You've got to now, and I say this, I don't get any joy out of it because I'm a big Mike McCarthy guy, as you guys know. Yeah. That being said, I've also been saying it for a month that if what happened yesterday happened, if I'm Jerry Jones, nobody's safe.
This is the worst.
Starting with Dan Quinn, by the way.
That is the worst possible performance the Cowboys could put up. Because we spoke about the potential of this happening. And I was going, I don't see him losing to the Packers. Yeah. But I never saw this. 27-0.
Yeah.
No, I did. And I told you idiots, right?
Yeah.
I told you after week 9, for the neck up, Jordan Love was a better quarterback, a more confident quarterback. For his ability to come off play action and deliver the ball, intermediate throws, stretch the seams. The bottom line, what the Green Bay Packers did on defense, what they were all able to do on offense was pretty much keep it face forward. They said, we're going to run the ball, we're going to trust Jordan Love, get him out the pocket at times, and lean on the run game, and they was able to do it.
I will say this. Congratulations to the Green Bay Packers. That is a great win in the first year of Jordan Love. It comes to an ugly end next week in San Francisco as the Niners.
I don't know, Craig.
Oh, really?
I don't know, Craig. I don't know.
I'll just give it to you now. San Francisco is favored by 10 at home against Green Bay. The over-under in that game is 50.5, meaning about 40 of those 50 are coming from San Francisco. But at least for this week, if you're living out there in Wisconsin and you're a Green Bay fan or a former player, enjoy this. Because this was not guaranteed. This was not even predictable. Although you had Green Bay.
I did.
I'll give you your flowers.
Yes, thank you.
I thought Dallas was going to blow them out.
No way.
I think you had Dallas.
Dallas.
Yeah. But you sat there, alone on an island, like a leader of men.
With Greg here, Hall of Famer.
Forget about Greg. More about you.
Thank you.
You sat here.
I did.
The
Good job,
voice of
William.
reason.
Yes, I tried.
And we poo-pooed that reason.
Yes.
And for that, I apologize.
You know what? I feel growth coming from you, and I thank you for that.
That being said,
Don't forget you picked the Steelers tonight.
they're going to get their asses handed to them next weekend against San Francisco. All right, we got much more. Now that we focus on the defensive side, we'll get to McCarthy, we'll get to Dak. But how about the game nobody cares about?
Oh!
How about the one?
CJ Stroud!
Flacco, what happened?
It just feels like it
CJ
was 3 weeks
Stroud
ago.
has advanced to the next round of the playoffs. We'll do it really fast now. Yeah, by the way, we've got a producer upstairs. His name is Ryan, and I've been very disappointed with him of late. So I said, go do something. So yesterday he decided to go drink, but he brought a camera with him and happened to be at a Dallas Cowboy bar right here in New York City. And this is the hilarity that ensued after the Dallas Cowboys embarrassed themselves against the Green Bay Packers. Run the tape. It's very quick. You'll like it, I think.
#1 fan in New York for the Dallas Cowboys.
My dude.
This is my boss. Let me say something to McCarthy. I never liked it you because you called that challenge on Dez catch.
After 10 beers, I just want to let you know that Mike McCarthy is done. He's done.
Bill Belichick next season. Let's go. That's what I'm over for.
Dak Prescott, you suck. Here we go. No.
I know the Carton show in the morning. You're going to kill my boys. Listen, I'm never, ever betting on the Dallas Cowboys no more all next year. They got to win the Super Bowl.
I love it. I love it. First
like
off,
that.
the gal there admitted that she was 10 beers deep.
I like that too.
Because the first guy's got a spliff, and
I mean, an open split too. He is.
Anything you got to cope. Anything you do to cope.
I think the line of the day comes from that gentleman who liked it in Dallas Cowboys.
I like it.
I like it in them too.
Yeah.
But I was wrong about that. The Green Bay Packers won and won handily. So good job by Ryan upstairs. Appreciate that. All right, let's get to Dallas and, of course, some other football stories from the playoff weekend. It's first to football and D to the J.
First in football, we start with, Joe Flacco.
Joe, why?
Throws a pick six, and then he backs that one up with another pick six. And the Texans beat the Browns. Willie, we'll start with you. How'd you feel about your guy Flacco?
He looked old. He looked old. The Houston Texans made it a track meet. I mean, there's a 17-year age gap between him and C.J. Stroud, and it showed right out the gate. Like, Flacco couldn't move out of the pocket. They even tried to roll him, doing semi-rolls, and he was still bad with it. Well, I think the most disappointing thing about the Browns' loss, the Texans neutralized their run game.
Yeah.
I mean, they only had 56 yards on the ground with 20 carries. Their run game was non-existent. They put all the pressure on Flacco. He was sacked 4 times, and it was just an ugly outing for the Browns.
Look, the Chiefs and Texans are for real, right? You've got a quarterback that's unfazed by the moment. Give him credit for that. I don't know how good their defense is for real because Flacco was just terrible
bad,
in that game. So I put a lot of that on Flacco. But look, when you're the better team and you know you're the better team and you feel like you're the better team, that's what you do. Like, you take advantage of the aspects of the other team that aren't great. Give Joe Flacco all the credit in the world for a 38-year-old guy to literally come from his house and join a football team at the NFL level and go, 3-1, and go to a playoff game is awesome. But he's also not a very good quarterback.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I thought this defense was going to be a lot better, led by Jim Schwartz. I thought this defense was going to, they won't handle C.J. Stroud. Nope. They look like step behind every play.
Yeah.
Like, they just look slow. They look outdated. It was just bad. And what I hate for Flacco is, after he threw the pick, you can tell, I should have never got off the couch.
Right.
Like,
He was around.
He
By the way, it's funny because they kept showing Deshaun Watson, who happened to be on the sideline.
And who's like,
he was the happiest dude. He's like,
This is why you keep him in the box, Trey. This is why you keep him right up there.
He was like, this makes me look good. Look, the Cleveland Browns had a great run. Give them credit, but the Houston Texans are for real.
Yeah.
They get in as a division champion. They're a 4 seed. Obviously, they're going on the road next week. But give the Texans credit. They're unfazed, and they win their first playoff game in 4 years, which means right now, the only team in the NFL not to lose a playoff game in the last 13 years are the New York Jets.
Hey! Great job, Jets.
Every other franchise in the NFL has lost at least one playoff game in the last 13 years. The New York Jets, no losses.
That's a great point, Craig. Moving on to second and football.
That's trouble.
All season we've been talking about the Chiefs wide receivers, and they had one show up on Saturday night. Nope, not Taylor Swift. Talking about Rashee Rice, who had himself a ball game. Can Mahomes and the Chiefs rely on Rice in this playoff run?
No, look, I think their playoff run just came to an end because they're most likely going to Buffalo, obviously, if the Bills beat the Steelers this afternoon. Give Rashee Rice a lot of credit. He played his ass off. What I loved about this from an offensive standpoint was the fact that the weather was irrelevant to how they called their game.
Yes.
They came out throwing the football, period, stop. Kelsey had a couple drops. It wasn't perfect, but they said, we're going to run our offense. That's all we know how to do, which means not a lot of Pacheco, more Patrick Mahomes. And what we've been saying, of course, all year long, I don't trust the Chiefs but I trust Andy Reid, and I trust that guy over there in the corner, Patrick Mahomes, and that's how they won the game.
Yeah, Rashee Rice had 92 yards in the first half, and I was like, man, this guy's cooking. But from the Dolphins' defense standpoint, valid, they have 5 guys missing on the defensive side of the ball, and they tried to blitz Patrick Mahomes, but everything was non-effective. And then when they got away from the blitz in the second half, Patrick Mahomes was like, oh, you should have stuck with the blitz. He lit him up for 200-something yards. So I think right now, when you look at Rashee Rice, he's the only guy I can say that's the go-to right now. If there's a number one option, it's him the way he performs.
Yeah, look, he's become the number one option, along with Kelsey. Kelsey's there, and you have to account for Kelsey, obviously. But from a wide receiver standpoint, Rashee Rice had a coming-out party as a rookie.
100%.
And he's the guy you're going to keep throwing the ball to, and you should. Look, here's the difference. Kansas City ran their offense. Miami didn't.
Yeah.
And all these ridiculous, like lateral passes, and Waddle's not involved in the offense at all. And there's only that one big play, to Tyreek Hill for the touchdown. But Tua was terrible in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And to be fair, I know the Dolphins started talking about their injuries a month ago. Look, they went in there missing 7 starters.
Yeah.
And they got abused in Kansas City. And frankly, I don't think the weather had anything to do with it. They just got manhandled by a better team, period, stop. It also shows you with the Dolphin loss, and if I could couple that real quick, with the Dallas Cowboy loss. All these teams that we talked about all year that were going to the playoffs but hadn't really beaten anybody because of what their schedule was, they all lost.
Yeah.
Every one of them lost. So we'll see what happens today.
One thing I loved about the Chiefs game is they're like, MVS, you're over here. Kadarius Toney, you're over here.
It wasn't even,
Yeah. It was just like, you know what this is? We got Rashee Rice, we got Travis Kelce, we got Patrick Mahomes, we got Isaiah Pacheco, and that's it.
And by the way, next time the Kansas City Chiefs come out and tell you, we have total faith in Kadarius Toney, remember that they didn't play him. In a playoff game against the Miami Dolphins, he was a healthy scratch.
Exactly. Moving on to third and football. Big Bills-Steelers game this afternoon. It has been postponed, and they decided to pay the local Bills fans $20 an hour to shovel the snow. And there is one of them without a shirt on going down the snow slide.
in his hand.
Does this guarantee a Bills win? I say yes.
Yeah, first let me explain to people what that is. So they set up these snow chutes.
Yep.
And they do that so they shovel the snow onto the chute, gravity takes it down, and then they plow it off the field.
Yep.
So this dude's like, shirt off, snow chute, let's go. Getting paid $20 an hour.
Was clogged.
The sleigh ride.
It means nothing. Fans don't play football. Football players play football.
Relax,
I'm just trying to say
Just
I'm ready.
relax for a second.
I'm fired up.
Mason Rudolph plays football.
Look, I know Pittsburgh's a Northeast team as well, so they're used to the elements. Look, they're going into a buzzsaw. You know that.
I don't. You said the same thing about the Dallas Cowboys. Right? When you said, ain't no at home. Look at those Cowboys. How can they lose, Willie?
Yeah.
And Jordan Love was like, watch me work.
Yeah, you're talking about 3 feet of snow. The Pittsburgh Steelers landed
weather.
late last night. Again, maybe they're bothered by the weather, maybe they're not.
This was the field.
That's why they postponed the game.
Spring day in Pittsburgh. What are you talking about? Nobody's afraid of snow.
Now, that being said, I wish they had played the game yesterday.
100%.
I wish they played
the game.
Because 50-mile-per-hour winds, 0 visibility, 3 feet of snow on the ground, and impossible to get to the stadium in any legal means. I wish they had played that game.
It's not going to be 65 and sunny today either.
No.
It's going to be snowing today. It's going to be freezing.
It's
going to be
cold as hell
windy.
outside.
It's supposed to snow. I read the paper today. It's going to snow in Buffalo until Thursday.
Yeah.
Not like, until 7 p.m. tonight. Like, it's snowing until Thursday.
And by the way, the governor of New York is telling Steeler Nation, stay home. You're going to lose anyway. That's going to come back to bite you. Maybe another.
Really?
I'm just saying, may come back.
Look, I do think this. Crazy weather like that always favors the underdog.
Yes.
Because it, in theory, should make it a slower, lower-scoring game.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I thought the same thing about Kansas City, Miami, and Kansas City had no trouble moving the ball and scoring. But I can't wait to watch
This is going to be a phone booth fight. This is going to be
so
on
much
the
fun.
ground, pound and pound, defense. This is going to be ugly. Like this,
So
this
this
won't be hot
afternoon,
flying.
it's going to be 3 degrees. The wind's going to be a factor, and it will be snowing throughout the game.
Yeah, it's a Steelers birthday party. What are you talking about? It's going to be cake, candles, and a dub.
Anyhow,
Well-
I can't remember a game being postponed 48 hours like this. I've seen games go, from like 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock, but this is kind of new territory. I'm not sure if it has any advantage for either team, but I can't wait to watch it today. And it was good because we had a doubleheader on Saturday.
Yeah.
We had a doubleheader on Sunday. And now we get another doubleheader on Monday.
I love it. It's like finding a $20 in your back pocket. Like, I didn't know that was there. Oh, beer money.
Yes. It is unlike finding 20 singles in your pocket, because that reminds me of where I was last night. All right, we got
laundromat. Yeah.
It's the more you can do.
I got to keep it real. That's all.
We already showed the guy with a
That
blunt.
dollar bill smells like something I don't want to have in my house.
Right.
All right, coming up, much more. What? Sorry, I went to a sushi all-you-can-eat bar.
That happens.
For $20.
Right.
Is Bill
$20.
Belichick? Boy, he looks real right there.
Yeah.
Is Bill?
that
Look
Bill
over here.
Belichick?
Look over here.
Bill.
Is Bill Belichick on his way to Dallas right now? We'll get into Mike McCarthy's future right after this. If you know Belichick's available, maybe you do consider a coaching change, and that points me right in the direction of the Dallas Cowboys.
What?
As much as I love Mike McCarthy.
What?
And Mike
You drive me crazy.
And Mike
What?
You
McCarthy.
make us time after time.
Yeah, look, what do I want to tell you? I'm really good at this. That was December 13th. So a month ago, we were the first on that, and now it's real.
Yeah.
Because, 4 years in Dallas, you've got one playoff win in 4 years. You got a division title. That's all well and good. One playoff win. And when you have a home playoff game, and oh, by the way, you've won 16 consecutive games at home, and you throw out the kind of, garbage you threw out there yesterday, if I'm an 81-year-old billionaire who, yes, has been the failed general manager de facto style of this team, and I got to take responsibility as well, why am I bringing you back? Like, what's the upside? You're a great regular season coach. We've won 12 games 3 straight years now, and there's nothing to show for it. You've got one playoff win, and that was against a 42-year-old quarterback in Tampa named Tom Brady. So, if I'm Jerry Jones, I fire Mike McCarthy also. And if I fire Mike McCarthy, who am I going to bring in that A, is going to appease my fan base, and B, who do I think legitimately is going to take the talent I know I have on this roster and do better? And there's only 2 names. It's Bill Belichick and it's Jim Harbaugh. We know Harbaugh's now talking to the Chargers this week, a team he showed interest in a year ago. Now the job's available. And we know about Bill Belichick. He will be connected to every opening for the next month until he decides where he's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, you're right. This is about expectations, right? And Mike McCarthy, it was never about winning the regular season. It's about getting to the NFC Championship and going to Super Bowl. He was brought in to take this team over the hump. He already has a Super Bowl on his belt. And what's troubling about Mike McCarthy moving forward is that he didn't adjust well during this game.
Yeah.
Because Green Bay didn't do anything spectacular. Like, they loaded the box in the run game, they played soft covers, and they did a great job of keeping Dak intact. And what's great about, if you're the Cowboys is the fact that you still have Dak, right? You still have to feel like he's
under contract for one more year.
So you don't have to go to the draft and get the guy. But right now, this was a bad loss. Like, the 48 points.
So let me put it out there. I'll go to you, Jacoby, on this one. Do you blame Mike McCarthy more for this specific loss, or are you putting this loss more, and you could choose, on Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, defense embarrassed itself, or on Dak Prescott, who threw 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown, 1 that led to a touchdown?
So I think a lot of the attention is going to be on the defense's poor performance, but I'm honestly putting this one on the offensive Mike McCarthy because this game, it was very winnable for them, even though you look at it like this. Like, the Dak Prescott pick, they're moving the ball. It's 20-0. Seems insurmountable, but at the end of the first half, they're going to get the ball to start in the second half. They could easily have a couple nice drives together, and then they're right in a 1-score game. And what does Dak Prescott do with that opportunity? That opportunity to kind of bring the momentum back to the team. What does he do? Throws a pick 6.
Yeah.
So he does. That was 27-0.
All right, so let me just devil's advocate.
Yeah, of course.
So let's just blame Dak Prescott. Why are we blaming Mike McCarthy?
Listen,
because he didn't adjust, right? Like, he made, like, the Packers defensive coordinator, Joe Barrett, made the Cowboys look one-dimensional, and that's what we was afraid of. They couldn't really run the ball like we thought they should have be able to do at home, right? The Packers had 5 down D linemen, and they said, all right, if you want to come, you got to go through us. Kenny Clark and company put the nails to this Dallas Cowboys offensive line. So what's the problem is, if you're Mike McCarthy, you have to be better in the moment. Because I think Dan Quinn tried to adjust. He tried to figure out, once they got away from man coverage, it was just ugly. It was lack of communication on the back end, and it was all over the place. But offensively, they didn't have anything. And then we all saw it. Dak and CeeDee were arguing.
Yeah, I thought Greg Olson did a great job pointing that out. This is from the first quarter, by the way.
Yeah, the first possession.
Like the first and second possession, Kevin and Greg are like, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just that he didn't get any targets or had any catches through the first quarter. It's They're like jawing at each other.
Literally.
Like this is Dak Prescott.
The first
and
possession,
CeeDee
they're both
Lamb.
looking at each other
Yeah,
like.
and that's contagious. That body language, that
I
can
think so.
get through the team. It shows panic.
I
They
mean,
look panicked. They look scared.
CeeDee Lamb had the greatest single season any wide receiver has ever had in the history of the franchise, meaning Michael Irvin, step aside. Drew Pearson, step aside. Like T.O., step aside. This was the greatest season any wide receiver has ever had. And 5 minutes into the game, there's a problem.
That's called panic, right? And sometimes I think
I love it.
when you want something so bad, you start to mess it up by panicking instead of letting the game come to you. Like once again, the Packers, what they did was to limit the vertical throws for Dak, right? And Dak seemed like he was stuck in it like a deer in the
All right,
headlights.
so let me ask you this. I've got the answer. I'm not going to give you the answer. It's not rhetorical. I'd like an answer, okay? Does Mike McCarthy survive this loss? Very simple, yes or no?
No.
No.
No. I agree. We're in unison on that.
No, he does
Wonder
not.
Twin powers activate.
Jerry Jones says we're going to evaluate this game by game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You could not perform worse than what they just did.
And it reminds me, actually, of Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. Because Robert Kraft said before the season started, I'm not talking Super Bowl, but it is mandatory that we make the playoffs.
Yes.
If we don't make the playoffs, I'm going to have to make some tough decisions. Patriots didn't make the playoffs. Belichick is gone. Jerry Jones, I'm going to make a decision based on game by game. Let's see what we do. Well, now you're out. Now you're done.
Craig,
I don't think Mike McCarthy can survive this. I really don't.
As good as the Cowboys were this year at home, we didn't recognize this offense. Like the whole team looked unrecognizable. Like who the hell was this team that played
Now,
this?
because as you guys know, there's a lot of times we put stuff out there first, and then other shows just happen to, not that they copy it, they come around to the idea weeks later, months later. So I'm just going to help you out with Mike McCarthy.
Oh, okay.
All right. So Mike McCarthy will be fired as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and it's not going to take a month for that to happen. I'd be surprised if it doesn't happen by the end of this week.
Yeah.
So then, where does Mike McCarthy go? I've got that answer as well.
Oh, do you?
Yes, because there's no loyalty in sports at all, as you know. Hate to say this because it affects my squad. You don't think Aaron Rodgers goes to Woody Johnson and says,
No way.
my guy's available.
No.
Enough of Robert Saleh. Go hire Mike McCarthy. Now I've got the entire band back together. Let's roll.
Craig, Aaron Rodgers is the reason. Okay. like you broke my brain with that. Aaron Rodgers complained to Mike McCarthy that his offense was stale and outdated. That's why they never got along in the first place. That's why Mike McCarthy had to get the hell up out
Aaron
of it.
Rodgers has 0 Super Bowl wins without Mike McCarthy. 0. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there. Mike McCarthy's career might not be over
I
just
thought
yet.
you were crazy when you said Belichick to the Cowboys.
All right, now, let me go.
He was at Panthers? I'm like, yeah, I can see it.
Let me go to Dak
Offensive
Prescott real
coordinator
quick.
for the Jets, maybe.
Dak Prescott, who, of course, had 1 pick six, had the other interception.
He tried to throw many more interceptions.
Yeah, he did.
He tried.
You got to give him credit for
He
trying.
tried.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, who wants the ball?
Anybody.
He was like Oprah at quarterback. Who wants it? You get an interception. You got it. Anyway, Dak Prescott after the game, the topic came up. Of course, about Mike McCarthy. And I'll give Dak credit for this. He basically said, you're going to hear it here. If you blame Mike, you might as well blame me. Here's Dak Prescott after the game.
I don't know how there can be, but I understand the business. In that case, it should be about me as well, honestly. I mean, that guy, I've had the season that I've had because of him. This team's had the success that they've had because of him. And I understand it's about winning the Super Bowl, and that's the standard of the league and damn sure the standard of this place. So I get it, but add me to the list in that case.
All right, so you're on the list.
You're on the list, Dak.
Look, and I appreciate that. You want the smoke, you're going to get all the smoke. Dak Prescott has 1 year left on his contract. It's a big contract. It's a lot of money. It's like $50 million against the cap. The conversation was based on the regular season he had. There you go, $60 million against the cap. I shorted him there. Sorry about that. That if he had a good playoff run, he's going to get the extension and maybe be the highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. He also has a no trade clause. But if I'm Dallas, why would I extend him now? I have him under contract. He's going to get a boatload of money this year, commensurate with the top quarterbacks in the game. But that performance yesterday is what my biggest fear was if I'm Jerry Jones or a Cowboy fan. Great regular season player. Can't trust that guy in the playoffs. And yesterday, frankly, just furthered that narrative that Dak Prescott is not a January quarterback.
Yeah, 2-5 in the playoffs, man, is not good, right? That's the bottom line. And it's expectations. We talk about expectations. And since this is a performance-based league, how you perform on what you put on tape is your resume. This was horrible, man. This was bad because he was out of sync, out of rhythm. Him and CD looked like they didn't even know each other at times. And this is a Dak Prescott-led offense.
Now,
and when you're the head of the snake, man, you got to drive it.
The reality is that if you watch any NFL this year, there's not a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. This might be the single worst year for quarterback play in the modern era. So Dallas is in a bit of a pickle. You've got a guy that's not yet really worth the $200+ million payday, but who else are you going to get, right? Like Dak Prescott's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and yet you can't trust him in a playoff game.
But this feels like Jason Garrett and Tony Romo 2.0.
Yes,
right?
you're right.
There's no separation of what they kind of stepped into. And so when you're looking at this Cowboys team, Jason Garrett won. He won regular season game. Tony Romo had numbers. But they could never get there. The sole reason you got Dak and Mike McCarthy so they can take you over the hump, and they haven't delivered. Yesterday was bad because they didn't seem like they didn't recognize each other. The offense was out of sync. There was no run game. They never adjusted coming out of halftime.
It was bad.
It was just bad from the first quarter to fourth quarter.
The Dak Prescott was an MVP candidate in week 10.
100%.
Dak Prescott, if you say Dak Prescott was the top 5 quarterbacks this year, no one's going to argue that. But nothing I saw during the regular season, I'd say there were some hints, but I didn't expect them to do that on both sides of the ball. This is a complete failure in everybody's head.
Consider this. The Green Bay Packers have more playoff wins in Dallas than the Dallas Cowboys do. 3-2. Since they built that brand new building. If you're Jerry Jones, look, you got to take some ownership that you've been a failed GM because you haven't won but one playoff game since you really took over all the personnel decisions. But Mike McCarthy is not the answer. And I hate to say this, but, I always represent the voice of the fan. Right or wrong, that's kind of how I've always positioned myself over the last 30 years of doing this. And I'll tell you what, the fans want blood. You got to give it to them.
Oh, yeah.
You can't sell the fan base now on we're running it back again. Plus, you have other decisions to make. Micah needs a big contract. CeeDee Lamb's going to get a contract.
Smith is gone.
Smith is gone.
Yeah.
What do you do with Dak
Salary
Prescott?
cap hell.
And I think the two guys that quell the need for blood are either Jim Harbaugh or Bill Belichick because you can't argue it. You're getting a legacy of winning, whether that's the 70% win mark in the NFL that Harbaugh has, the 6 Super Bowls, of course, that Belichick has, and everything in between it. I think the Cowboy fan wants blood, and I think they get it.
And it's a reminiscence of what happened years ago when Jerry Jones brought in Bill Parcells, right? When Parcells was brought in to add stability, order, and say, listen, we need help right now. We need to get to the promised land. And so now
it's different. Back then, Parcells was brought in to bring competency back to the sideline. They're a competent team. They're a good football team.
But they're not competent in the playoffs.
They just won an NFC East title. They need a guy that gets them. Fair enough.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not competency now. They need a guy now to take them from here, that little teeny hump right there, the little 8-cup, boop, just like that, boop, to the next level, which is playoff wins.
The thing is, you can't bring in Dan Quinn. After that game, I think that might have been the plan at one point. Be like, hey, Dan Quinn wants to be a head coach. If Mike McCarthy really does poorly in the playoffs, we can just elevate Dan Quinn from that defensive coordinator position.
No.
You cannot do that after the game.
Well, I'm with you. Mike McCarthy gets fired. Dan Quinn gets fired as well. How would you react, just real quick? I know we got to take a break. They hire Belichick, and Belichick goes, I'm bringing in Matt Patricia.
Oh, God. I'm like, no, the hell you ain't. If I was Jerry, I wouldn't let that happen.
Just putting it out there as a possibility, Anyhow, we got lots more to do on the Dallas Cowboy loss. And the flip side of that, giving the Green Bay Packers a lot of credit. But we're going to give you a chance to vote because it's voting season, as you know. Who's most responsible for that embarrassment yesterday at home against the Green Bay Packers? Is it Dak? Is it Mike? Is it Dan?
Taylor Swift.
Or do we just give credit to Jordan Love?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Carton Show. Great to have you here. You know David Jacoby. You know Willie Colon.
Yes,
this handsome guy right here. Is Super Bowl champion Plaxico Burress. And not even arguably but in the annals of the NFL, the greatest cold weather wide receiver in playoff history.
There you go.
There he is.
Plaxico Burress. Just asked the Green Bay Packers. Good to have you here, Plax. Let's get right into your headlines now with Mr. Jacoby.
We start with the big game from yesterday. The Cowboys had won 16 straight home games. They were the 2 seed. They were hosting the 7 seed, and they got waxed. Craig, let's start with this. Who's to blame the most? Mike McCarthy,
Whoever's supposed to guard that
Dak
guy.
Prescott, the defense. Who deserves the most blame for this loss?
I thought the Cowboys' defense was worse than their offense, actually. And not that any of them were any good, and the coaching. And look, there's going to be a lot of people fired because of what happened yesterday. But even when Dallas made it like, oh, maybe they make it interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they get within a couple of scores. The defense took the field and embarrassed themselves. So if I had to rank it, I would go Dan Quinn in the defense, first culprit. Dak Prescott on the offense, second culprit.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be surprised that the Dallas Cowboys defense struggled. I mean, they've been struggling the last couple of weeks. Go back into the Miami game where they couldn't stop
Yeah.
on the last drive and on and on and on. But this is a defense right now versus a team with a winning record, man. They give up 26 points. So here they go, going against the Green Bay Packers with a winning record. They just doing what they've been doing all season. They've struggled. And they look like a shovel.
And I tell you, I think, Plax, look, we know that you can run against the Cowboy defense this year. Aaron Jones, of course, had 3 touchdowns yesterday, so just furthered, that thought that you can run against them. But some of these highlights that were shown and watching the game, there are dudes, no joke. There's not a Cowboy defender within 20 yards. How does that happen in a playoff game?
And I have no idea, man. There's just so many moving pieces to this game yesterday. Listen, I knew that Dallas Cowboys couldn't stop the run, but this interior run defense, man, was bad yesterday. Outside of Michael Parsons, I mean, they really didn't do anything defensively. And I'm looking at some of these plays in the secondary. They got beat at every level.
Right.
Giving up big plays in the passing game. Deron Bland, Stephon Gilmore, guys sitting on routes, defensive pass interference, trying to undercut a route, and when the wide receiver tried to cross the field and ran a V route, and then you get a motion on the touchdown pass against Stephon Gilmore just sitting on routes, not playing the right leverage in this. In the defense, you get a guy motion outside. It's a quarter beater. So automatically, look, he's trying to undercut the route. He has no idea what a wide receiver is. He's just guessing. These guys in the secondary were really depending on this rush to get to the quarterback, and they got beaten.
And by the way, Dan Quinn tried to get out of man coverage, and they started trying to blitz Jordan Love, and that hurt him even worse because there was so much bad miscommunication in the back end. That's why you saw these big open wide receivers.
Yeah.
They weren't being able to communicate and talk back there, and it was bad, man.
It's funny. You talk about momentum, right? Dallas went into it. They blow out Washington. They get the 2 seed. They get home field advantage. So you're thinking, okay, they avoided the trap, right? They won the game they had to win the division. That they're going to go flying into the playoffs. A place they average like 37 points a game. As Jacoby said, 16 straight wins. Green Bay struggled to beat the Chicago Bears just to get in to the postseason. And you would have thought Green Bay was the better team all year because first drive of the game, after they avoided that 3rd and 15 with the defensive penalty, got the first down, and then marched right down the field. We all said the same thing throughout this year. Show me a team that has to come from behind, and I'll learn more about that team. When you're playing with the lead, as a lot of these teams have all year, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, because of their easy schedule, you don't learn a lot about a team. When you're down 7-0, and then 14-0, and then 20-0, and then 27-0, and you say to yourself, does this team have the DNA to fight back? We learned very quickly yesterday the Dallas Cowboys don't on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and the bottom line, you're at home. You're the Dallas Cowboys, this daunted defense. They didn't have one sack. They only had 3 quarterback hits.
Yeah.
Jordan Love looked like he slept there. He was that comfortable, right? They couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. I can show you one play right here that's just baffling, right? This is Jordan Love, right? First year starter in the league, and he looked dime, right? This is him down the field with number 92, I forgot his name, coming down the hatch, right? Like time after time, this is what Jordan Love was doing. Oh, 3rd and 9, 30, okay, I find him, boom. In the middle of the secondary, he was completing throws like this all game long, and they could not stop him.
And the craziest thing about this game is, as well as Green Bay Packers played, everybody still talking about how bad the Cowboys were.
Right.
I mean, give the Green Bay Packers some credit. The way they went out there and played yesterday, I said after that Thanksgiving Day game when the Green Bay Packers.
I told Craig that.
I said on the show.
I told Craig that.
If Jordan Love continues to play like this,
yeah.
he continues to make progress as a quarterback, they found their franchise.
It's so funny. I
quarterback.
remember you saying that. I don't remember you saying it.
I did say. I said
No. You was Dak for MVP. Dak for MVP. That was you.
No, that was a couple weeks ago. No, but I said last week. I said, listen, man, the way he started that game against the Lions, he's a different quarterback, and he showed it yesterday.
Look, you can't argue the fact that Green Bay took it to Dallas in every aspect of the game, and you learned a lot about Dallas, which is why, it's one thing if you lose a game 35-34, a field goal kicker misses a kick or what have you. When you get embarrassed like that at home, and you've got the owner they have in Jerry Jones, I don't think any of the coaches survive it. I think it's a total house cleaning. And whether it is Bill Belichick or not, there's going to be an entirely new regime in Dallas.
I mean, what do? I don't think one coach can come into this organization and this team and fix what the Dallas Cowboys need to do next season.
What do you think they need to fix?
I really don't know. I mean, I don't think you can really blame Dan Quinn for the way this defense played yesterday. They just got physically beat up. And guys playing bad techniques, you can't stop the run, blowing coverage and things like that. Just like Willie said, communication issues. But you can't put this on Dan Quinn defensively as a coordinator because they just, from a physical standpoint,
they got
the Green Bay Packers basically came into Dallas and ran the ball like poop through a tin horn through their defense.
But Craig, you talking about what they need to do defensively? They got to kind of figure out what's going on with this linebacking core. Because that's trouble. And on top of the run defense, we talk about Michael Parsons being a premier pass rusher. They need somebody on the other side of him because there's times at the time. A lot of times when you watch this game, this was Aaron Jones chipping Michael Parsons.
You see this guy wide open? Have you seen this highlight yet?
It's a tight end hide.
Right.
It's a rollout.
I don't care what you call it. I call it bad coaching on the Dallas Cowboys. You can't have a 6'6" white guy on a football field open by 25 yards in all directions. That's on Dan Quinn.
They got food on us.
Dan Quinn gets fired. I fire all of them, and I'm not a firing type of guy. McCarthy's gone, Quinn's gone, all the position players are gone, and I don't extend Dak Prescott either. He plays on the one-year deal.
Sometimes you can't coach the stank off the field.
Look at that.
That's the bottom line. Like they were shell shocked from the door. I mean, when you look at the way their body language and how they were responding to each other, even when they panned to the sideline, every guy on that bench was like.
Yeah, they went into that game thinking that, you know what?
We're
going to mop the floor with the Green Bay Packers.
And
they played that.
The other part of the game that's going to go unnoticed that I love, the Green Bay Packers win the coin toss. And most teams put their defense on the field, and they're like, we'll take the second half kickoff. Green Bay said,
no, bring them over.
We're putting the offense on the field. Stop us. And the Cowboys couldn't. And I love that.
So Willie, I'm going to give you props for calling this game. Right?
Thank you.
I really did not see that coming, and I want to give you props. But you look back at the whole year, and you're like, wait, they never ran the ball well.
Nope.
They could never stop the run. Dak has historically had huge turnover problems.
Yep.
And we always question Mike McCarthy's decision-making and coaching. And it all manifested itself all right there all game long.
Everything we said might happen in the playoffs happened.
Yes.
I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise. Cowboy fans know better than anybody. This was your biggest fear. A 12-win season, the number 2 seed.
They have a 17-win season.
All the pressure in the world. And come January, we're not going to get it done.
And you lose to a 7th seed in the Green Bay Packers.
They didn't play like a 7th seed yesterday.
No, but this was the fear every legitimate Cowboy fan had. And I'll tell you something else. I don't think Cowboy fans are all that surprised that it went down like this. McCarthy, gone. Quinn, gone. All the other coaches, gone.
They're not surprised that they dealt with it for the last 3 years.
Their wives, gone. Their children, gone. And now what do we do with Dak Prescott? He has 1 year left on the deal, pays him a ridiculous amount of money, like $60 million, $59 million against the cap. They were talking about extending him, but Dak Prescott is as responsible for this loss as anybody because of the pick six there and the interception right here by Alexander. that did get returned but got called back.
They were bad
and they
throws
scored.
throughout
They
this
scored on
game,
that
too,
drive.
Fred. There was bad throws to CeeDee Lamb. One was over his head. There was couples behind him. Like he was just out of sync, and it was just weird. To
Here's
see.
the problem: you can't. There's not a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. So Dak Prescott's in a good place because he recognizes that you can't go get somebody better than me. You're not bad enough to get a good draft pick, and there aren't any good available quarterbacks that are better than me. So if I'm Dak Prescott, it's why he took the loss in stride afterwards and said, well, if you want to blame the coach, you might as well blame me too. And it's great. We're going to blame you for playing another bad playoff game. And I don't care about the 400 yards. It's all inflated nonsense. He played like crap when the game was on the line, but the Dallas Cowboys don't have much of a choice. He's got to come back.
Yeah, I think they stuck with him, but just based off the fact that they owe him almost $60 million next year, there's nobody that you can bring in to really replace him.
Right.
And listen, the Green Bay Packers came into this game with a strategy. They came into the game saying, listen, we're going to double CeeDee Lamb. We're going to take him out of the football game, find somebody else to beat him. And Dak was just never comfortable on the football field reading these defenses, and he really struggled.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, the Packers defensively, they have 5 down linemen. They say, man, you're not going to beat us on the run. They wouldn't let it happen. They played a bear defense, and they stuck it to the Cowboys.
All right, so you guys got to pick one. It's either Dak, Dan Quinn, or Mike McCarthy. Who is most responsible for the Dallas Cowboys' embarrassment yesterday? Jacoby, you can go first.
Mike McCarthy, he's the brains behind the whole operation. He's the head. He's the one who's head.
Well, it's one vote for M squared. Plax, who do you got?
Well, I'm not blaming Dan Quinn. Dak Prescott is going to take a lot of the blame, but I blame Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy.
Because you know what? Kellen Moore was somewhere laughing yesterday.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. In L.A., probably with a hot model. Who do you blame?
You have to blame Dak. 100%.
Dak.
Yeah, because when you're a quarterback of his caliber, we just talk about an MVP quarterback, you got to be the difference maker, and he wasn't. Actually, he was the problem with the bad throws and mid-air.
With the bad throws, I think he can still overcome the 2 interceptions, but the Green Bay Packers took away the run game, and the defense couldn't stop anybody.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like he's been here, done that. Jordan Love had never been on the playoff field, and Jordan Love looked like the playoff quarterback.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem. You're paying this man $60 million.
Jordan Love got too comfortable for my liking. San Fran's going to pimp slap him around with that. The back throw passes, the sidearm passes, the nonchalant. He looked a lot like Aaron Rodgers in that game.
But Craig, look at these throws.
It's all playground stuff right there.
I'm just talking about his feet aren't all over the place. He's stepping in the throws. He's seeing the open man. This is him stepping outside and bang, right on time, taking hits inside the head. Like, this isn't a guy who's never played in a playoff game. This looks like he's been in the league 10 years.
Yeah, I blame Dan Quinn more than anybody because his defense never gave Dallas a real shot to get back in the game.
You can't coach physicality, man. As a defensive coordinator, you can't coach phicality and effort.
But to Craig's point, every time the Cowboys scored, every time they said, we just need to stop. We just need to stop. Right down the field.
They never got to stop every time. So let me ask you a question, then we'll move on to the second headline. Are you saying, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, it's not what I do. Are you, Plaxico Burress, Mr. Super Bowl champion, saying the Dallas Cowboys are soft?
They were soft yesterday.
Soft.
They were soft.
Oh, you're making a note. Craig's writing it down.
Listen,
Craig's writing it down.
Listen, I did not expect this team to come in there to run the football the way they did on the Dallas Cowboys defense at home.
Craig, they softer than hospital cotton.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? They look soft.
Those guys inside.
This was a defense, by the way, it was supposed to be big, daunting. Michael Parsons podcast, look at us, DeMarcus Lawrence. They sucked yesterday, right?
Yeah.
They were soft as big. I ain't gonna say that. But they were just bad, man. Like at some point in that halftime, when you came out of halftime and you looked at your score, and you know Jerry was like, listen, man, pack everything up. We getting the hell out of here, right? Somebody in that defense should have said, man, should have been pulling face masks. Like, this can't happen. They should be coming out. Listen, start a fight coming out of halftime. You know me.
You get everything, man. Billy's answer to everything. Start a fight.
Mike Adams yesterday.
I'm very on Jimmy Johnson, right? Did you see Jimmy's halftime?
Yeah.
Jimmy was like, God damn it, if I got to come out of time and I'll do it. Throw back the yellow jacket. Jerry was like, please, we are the Dallas Cowboys. We should be coming out there heads busting and stomping on people's necks. And they just folded, man.
Sometimes in a football game, a fight got to start. I said to myself a couple times in this game, when they got down 14-0, 21-0, come out of halftime, I expected a guy like Michael Parsons, this all-world defense to turn into Superman somewhere along the line, get a sack, get a strip fumble. I just wanted him to see him raise his level of play. And it never happened.
I tell you what, everyone said when Green Bay missed that extra point.
Yes.
And okay, that's going to change everything.
Correct.
Dallas is going to score.
Yeah.
They're going to get right.
Remember that. Make a note in that play.
I was like, that's going to be the moment. Turning point of the game.
Yeah.
Green Bay misses their 5th extra point in the last month. That's going to give the Cowboys a chance to steal the victory. 21-20. Oops.
And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a playoff game from the Dallas Cowboys that seemed emotionless. Like, everybody on that sideline seemed so shell-shocked at what the hell was happening, and everybody was looking for somebody to make a play. When you're Dak Prescott or Michael Parsons or whoever, you're paid to be that difference maker, and you weren't. So I'm looking at this Dallas Cowboys team. This isn't about going into the offseason talking about we're going to be better. This is going into the offseason seeing what happened to your nuts and the start of that game. Because you had none.
No, they shriveled up like they're on, PEDs, like the little teeny marbles.
We're going to show that Jordan loves passes, and they're beautiful, and they're great throws. But, really, this is Aaron Jones. You know what I mean? Just every time he touches the ball, 7 yards. And what that does, it bleeds the clock, keeps the defense out there. 7 yards. They had 2nd and 3 every single series. It was 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3. Aaron Jones was absolutely dominant, and they just could not stop him. They were out-physical. This is embarrassing.
You know what's funny? After watching the Miami-Kansas City game, I said to myself, because I talk to myself frequently.
That's good.
I said, I'm not sure if I've ever seen a team unwilling to tackle the way the Miami Dolphins were afraid of tackling in the cold weather in Kansas City. Then I watched that game. I'm like, wow, Dallas has no interest in manning up and making tackles.
But this goes back to what Plex was saying. This is called will versus want to, right? Like, you have to will yourself and want to be the difference maker.
Yeah.
When you're the Dallas Cowboys defense and you're watching Aaron Jones and you're watching him come downhill in between the tackles, they were cutting off the backside where that backside gap was wide open from. When you see the Green Bay offensive line get Aaron Jones to the second level, unscathed and untouched, that's called want to, man. You got to be better.
It also seems like the New York Jets got the wrong Packer quarterback.
Yeah. We'll get to that later. Moving on to our second headline that involves the only actually competitive game from the weekend. It was last night's game, and that was the Lions, who beat the Rams 24-23. A lot of people had the Rams winning this one. Craig, what do you think about the Lions?
I'm so happy the Lions won that game for so many reasons. One, all of a sudden Rams fans woke up in the last week and started talking smack for anyone that counted them out. So you're out, you're done, you're irrelevant again. But look, the Detroit Lions have even been fighting that mystique, or maybe they're not that good, or you can't trust Jared Goff. What I loved about the way the Lions won this game was what they did on their last possession.
Yep.
All right, because Jared Goff had a good game. Matthew Stafford, frankly, had a really good game yesterday. So they did their jobs. But then it came down to the final drive.
2-minute
You're
warning.
up by a point, 2-minute warning. What are you going to do? A lot of teams in that spot are going to go run, punt, and then cross your fingers that there's only so many seconds left that the Rams can't come down the field and kick the game-winning field goal. That's what a lot of teams do. Dan Campbell said, I'm an aggressive guy. You may want to attack me in the media for being aggressive, but here's 2nd and 9, up by a point, on his own 32, 2-minute warning.
No timeouts for the Rams.
Obviously, you're going to run the ball because the Rams are out of timeouts, right? And let's watch what the Detroit Lions do. This is the Detroit Lions saying, we're winning our first playoff game right there. Period, stop. And that's the end of the game right there.
That's called cojones,
They
Frank.
get the first out, but that's Dan Campbell. That's why he's beloved in Detroit. And that is the personality of this Detroit Lion team. You make the argument. Run on 2nd down, 40 seconds comes off the clock. Now you got 1:20 to go. Run on 3rd down, 40 seconds comes off the clock. Now you got 40 seconds to go. Punt. Now the Rams get the ball. Let's just say 32, 33 seconds left. No timeouts, but depending on where they have the ball, maybe you only need 30, 40 yards to have an attempt to win the game with a field goal. Dan Campbell said, we're going to win the game. They don't touch the ball again. And I love it. And congratulations to the Detroit Lions.
Detroit what?
The last time the Detroit Lions won a playoff game at home, the #1 movie in America was Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh, Richard Dreyfuss.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Richard Dreyfuss?
Of course you would know.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I thought you were going to say Back to the Future.
No. So, in any event, and now by winning that game, Detroit stays at home. They get another playoff game. Whoever wins tonight's game between the Bucs and the Eagles, it is set. They're going to Detroit. And I'll say this, the Detroit Lions are playing the San Francisco 49ers the NFC Championship
Lions,
game.
Niners?
It is a wrap. You're not buying
I don't
that?
agree with that.
Lions, Niners?
You've been wrong before.
Once or
No,
twice.
no,
I mean,
don't show that.
all weekend, really. Yeah.
Anyhow, I loved it. And give Jared Goff credit. You know, he matched Stafford throw for throw.
Yeah.
They were both really good, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this was the game we hoped for, right? This was the game that, to be honest, was very hard to predict. Rams came in, offense was killing it, you know, the last month or so. Detroit's defense, somewhat questionable over the last month. But, man, they can run the football. Ahmad St. Brown, legit stud, obviously Pro Bowler. You get Laporta back from the injury. And Jared Goff, you saw it on that very first drive out of the gate. He was on point. He wasn't overwhelmed by the moment. And he also, wanted to let McVay know you messed up when you got rid of me.
Yeah, and I was going to say that was a significant moment, I think, for the Lions, for Jared Goff and Dan Campbell. 2nd and 9 to deliver that and kind of seal the win, because the Rams was an organization that gave up on Goff after bringing him to the Super Bowl. And he talked about having a chip on his shoulder and felt like, man, I wasn't the reason, right? I thought I was actually the difference. And when they shipped him to Detroit, a lot of people thought, like, man, he's not a top 10 quarterback. It's going to be the same old Lions. Stafford couldn't get it. He's damn sure he's going to be able to get it done. And what he did was deliver their first playoff win in 30 years, man. Congratulations to him in that outfit.
Well, I guess I can't no longer call the Detroit Lions fool's goal, because they made it to the playoffs and won their first
playoff win
game. So congratulations to them. But I thought this game was evenly matched for both teams, offensively and defensively. But I did pick the Rams for one reason only, because of the way they've been playing for the last month and a half offensively. So I thought that they would go in and beat the Detroit Lions, but they proved me wrong.
Look, I would say this. That's one of those games where there's no gloating if you picked it wrong, right?
Right.
Because it was a coin flip game, and we got exactly what we expected. So it's not like the other games where, like, I thought Dallas was going to blow Green Bay out. Shame on me, egg on my face. I got that wrong. I don't care if you picked the Lions or the Rams in this game. There's no shame in that, because this was a 1-point game, and Detroit took it away from the Rams at the end by being aggressive. So for all the criticism also that Dan Campbell's got more from the national media, or at least outside of Detroit, that sometimes he takes too many chances, that's the ethos of the Detroit Lions. And on 2nd and 9, let's be honest, the prudent thing to do is to run the football.
Yeah.
They're out of timeouts. Let's knock the clock down. But then you leave yourself open to the possibility Stafford connects on one big play to Puka or to Cooper Kupp, and now you've got yourself a loss that you can't explain. This was an opportunity to take the win and never give them the ball again. And I love that about Detroit.
They have an identity. And they're going to be aggressive. They're going to go for it. And that's helpful when you're a fan. That's helpful when you're a player. And one thing I loved about this is there's a couple punts, like, from their own 30. We're all watching, like, are they going to fake it?
Fake.
It's like 4th and 8, and you're kind of like, are they going to go for it here?
Yeah.
And that's who he is. That is their identity that ultimately won them the game.
Yeah, and congratulations, because they're going to the NFC Championship game. I don't care who wins tonight's game between Philly and Tampa. Neither one of them are going into Detroit and beating the Detroit Lions. Detroit is going to be 60 minutes away from going to a Super Bowl. How about that?
Oh,
now,
baby.
They're going to get waxed by San Francisco. But that's another story for another day, Jacoby.
Moving on to our third headline. We haven't talked about this game that much, and that is Saturday night's freezing cold contest between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. I asked this last week. I'm going to ask you again, Craig.
Yeah.
Are the Chiefs again?
No, they're not. This is more about Miami having no interest in playing in the cold.
Didn't you say that the Miami Dolphins were going to go into Kansas City and put a 30 burger?
I did say that. Yeah, I got that wrong.
They got a little slider.
I want to apologize. Miami let me down. It's really their fault.
That's
Shocking.
Yeah,
They didn't want to play.
Here's the deal. Miami was,
like you said, their fault,
Miami
not
was
mine.
playing in a freezer. Kansas City was playing like it didn't matter.
Yeah. Yep.
Kansas City came
Business
out
as
throwing
usual.
the ball right out of the gate saying, it's not cold to us. We're running our offense. And I give them a lot of credit for that, because they didn't change who they are in this game. This game had more about Miami not wanting to play than what Kansas City did. And I'll give you an example. Don't show it yet. This bothered me to my core, because I'm a man's man. As you guys know, I strap it down like a rock star does.
Strap it
That's
down,
right. That's
Nick.
right. That's right.
Right.
I can untie it, but it'll take me all day.
You mean your golf bag, right?
Now, here's the deal. Patrick Mahomes, second half, And you saw a few times in this game when the coverage was really good by Miami. He took off, and there was no answer for that.
Yep.
Apparently, the Miami Dolphins thought because of the weather that the NFL changed the rules from tackle football to two-hand touch.
Pity pat, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
play the video real quick here. I want you to watch this. All right, there's Mahomes. Watch the Dolphin defender.
Oh, man. It's
Number
just too cold to
45.
tackle, Greg.
Yeah, but wait till you see. Wait till you see it from this side. Watch this. Tag you down.
Oh, man.
Now, look.
That's...
Yeah. Now, we're going to show you one more time. Okay, hard to see from there. Slow this down, please. Slow-mo this for me. Watch this, number 45.
He's down. He's down.
But then he
man.
points at his man like I thought you had.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing. But Craig, I told you, listen, this was the 11-3 playoff record for the Kansas City Chiefs. They was going to be at home. And I also told you that the Dolphins was going to do anything. And this is how I knew that the Dolphins are softer than hospital cotton. I mean, they just pull us off. I got to see, who's the leader on their offense besides Tua? Tyreek Hill, right?
Tyreek Hill.
It's got to be that dog.
That's
He's
right.
a difference maker. Played in Kansas City, right? Well, this is what that dog did in the slot. I got to go right. This is him in the slot. Get the hell beat out of him. Just get dog walked out there. Tyreek didn't want none of that. Come here, young man. Come over here.
Get down.
Where's your whole pass? Beat the hell out of Tyreek Hill. And meanwhile, Tua is picking his face off the ground.
Yeah.
Right, getting sacked in the backfield. Tyreek Hill's getting the hell beat out of him in the slot.
Jump jammed him. I mean, that's
I
tough.
didn't realize you're allowed to tackle a wide receiver.
He didn't tackle him, beat the hell out of him.
Look, Tyreek Hill, the one bright spot of the game,
One.
a touchdown.
Right. One.
And that was it. But Tua was terrible. He looked like the tongue in Tim Tebow, as I said earlier today. Waddle was non-existent, didn't run the ball well. And they were so scared, you could tell. Like, we've all talked about what we think is a weak-arm quarterback there. Well, in those conditions, you know that Miami had no faith in Tua throwing the ball down the field.
Yep.
Because every single pass was a lateral. Right? And even those he didn't throw all that well. Like the one to Mostert that hit the ground first. They got abused. They got exposed. And again, this is a team that throughout this year did not beat anybody with a winning record. They had one win
1-5.
with a team that had a winning record. And while it's not their fault who they play, you saw the Dallas Cowboys didn't play anybody good this year. You go up against a team that's feeling good about themselves, you lose. Miami, 1-5 against teams with winning records, went to Kansas City and got embarrassed. That's really the storyline of the playoffs thus far this year.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't just get embarrassed. The running game that was supposed to be leading the way didn't do anything, right? Like you talking about Mercer and those guys, they were supposed to have the edge. And what's crazy about this offense for the Miami Dolphins is that Tua looked average, right? And for the first time, I thought his height would never play the factor. His height played a factor. He can't throw over the big arms of Chris Jones and those guys that led to that one pick. And what's crazy about it, like Mike McDaniels, he got out-coached. What happened to all the gimmicks? What happened to anything?
He was running the ball.
They
I thought
didn't do
I thought
anything.
Mostert and A-Chain would have a day.
They didn't do
They didn't
anything.
get out coached. They didn't want to play, man. They wanted to postpone.
They got
the
out
game
coached, they didn't want to
because,
play, and they should never got off the
They knew
plane.
that going into Kansas City in that weather, that their style of play doesn't fit playing in those conditions.
No, that's
they knew
that's
that
for
going
sure.
into the game.
Yeah, they
Nothing
needed.
wrong with Kansas City.
Miami needed an indoor
it was
game in the
business as
worst
usual for
possible
them.
way.
Played in the
They're
same
out
weather.
Kansas City. I don't think they're back, but they're moving on. And Kansas City's most likely going to Buffalo next week after the Bills beat your Steelers
what do you
tonight.
mean Pittsburgh's coming to
what
Kansas
happened?
City? What?
Pittsburgh's not going to Kansas City. We'll get to that game a little bit more later on. Coming up, obviously, with the Dallas Cowboy loss to the Green Bay Packers. Well, there's no pressure on Jerry Jones. That's silly. But the question is, what's the first thing Jerry Jones does? Because he's mad.
Fire
McCarthy. Fire Dan Quinn. Call Bill Belichick. We'll go over all the options right after this on FS1.
Go on vacation.
Very special day of college hoops on Fox. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and first we have Ohio State against Michigan at 11:30 Eastern in the morning, and then after that it is Villanova against Marquette. That's at 2:30. It's all today. It's all celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it's all on Fox.
And isn't it interesting that the NBA brought back Draymond Green, the NBA's most violent player, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day? In any event, the Dallas Cowboys lose to the Green Bay Packers in embarrassing fashion. Pick sixes galore. You get a pick, you get a pick, you get a pick.
Thank you, buddy.
And now the Green Bay Packers advance to the divisional round against San Francisco. But man, The wake is still happening in Dallas. Let's go to Jerry Jones on the embarrassing loss at home. Go ahead, guys.
On a personal basis, I'm floored, and so not that there's any world's smallest violin for me being floored. I get that. I understand that, and I know where the responsibility starts and ends, and I've got that real clear, and I know that. But that's not the point. The point is that I'm disappointed for everybody.
So when he says, I know where the responsibility starts and ends, I'd like to think he's talking about himself.
I hope so.
But my gut tells me he's talking about Mike McCarthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, what's next for the Dallas Cowboys is crying over spilled milk. You know, there's a story that's out there that when Bill Belichick got fired by the Cleveland Browns before he ultimately went to coach New England, had all that success, that he actually bumped into Jerry Jones at an event. And he said to Jerry Jones, this is obviously 25 years ago, look, I can really coach. Just keep me in mind if you ever have an opening. I'm telling you, I'm good at what I do. And Jerry Jones said, I'll keep an eye on you. Maybe it'll happen one day in the future. Well, here we are now. In the future, 25 years after they had that impromptu conversation, Jerry Jones can make that real and bring in the winningest coach from a playoff standpoint and Super Bowl standpoint in the history of the league. And that would how you, if I'm the owner and my fans want blood, and man, I want blood, the answer is very simple. It's Bill Belichick.
Well, it may be Bill Belichick, or the same. You got to understand one thing, that, listen, Mike McCarthy, he was brought to, there was expectations that came with Mike McCarthy, right? And when you bring up Bill Belichick, there's expectations too. It's to win the Super Bowl, right? And when last time we saw Bill Belichick, he's 9 games under 500 without Tom Brady. He left New England in bad shape. Their franchise is in bad shape. So if you're bringing him to be the difference maker, is he really? Does he still have it?
Yeah, because you've got talent. Even though Dak Prescott was terrible yesterday, Dak Prescott was second in the league in passing yards, right? You've got big name players who are very good. You just don't have a coach right now that's able to get them over the hump. And what was the bugaboo yesterday? The defense. What's Bill Belichick known for? He's a defensive guru.
Listen, I just don't think that Bill Belichick is the answer.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Even if he comes in as a head coach, I mean, how do you get your team and your defense to be physical and to play with more effort? And if you're Bill Belichick, how do you stop Dak Prescott from having a performance like he did yesterday?
Yeah, isn't that day to have a bad day?
Isn't that why you hire Bill Belichick?
But look what Plax is saying. Bill can't coach 1-2. Bill can't coach you to come out at halftime and realize you're about to blow a 12-5 season away. Bill can't coach you to realize you're going against an outfit that's a number 7 seed and you're at home and you have an 8-0 record at home. You're 16-0 in the last 2 seasons. Bill can't coach that.
No, if Bill Belichick's coaching this team, they don't lose like that. They do not lose like that.
I just don't know how to
When
lose
Dak
like that.
Prescott is throwing the ball to the other team, listen,
Yes.
Listen, the Green Bay Packers probably got to a point yesterday in the football game, defense, where they were saying, you know what, don't even hit Dak Prescott, don't even sack him because he's playing for us. So just let him throw the football.
Don't sack him.
Don't sack him, he's going to throw the football to us.
Here's the thing. That's what head coaches get paid for. Now, you can poo-poo the last 4 years of Bill Belichick in New England. I can't argue that. You could poo-poo his record without Tom Brady. I'm not going to argue that. But I'm also not going to say that Mike McCarthy's in the same class as Bill Belichick when it comes to the ability to motivate guys, to get rid of guys that don't have that want to, and to be a better coach when it comes down to the X's and O's of preparing a team for a big game. Like, Bill Belichick's better than anybody at that in the history of the sport. So by default, he's an upgrade from a guy that can't win a playoff game.
But we also got to understand, like, the defensive coordinator for the Packers, Joe Barry, he didn't do anything extravagant. It wasn't like he came up with this fire zone super blitz. The man played soft coverage. He played typical fire zone coverage. So it wasn't like it was just a bad day to have a bad day for Dak Prescott. He was out of sync. They was out of the rhythm, and they couldn't do anything. They become extremely one-dimensional, especially when they loaded the box. And I told you this. Go back to that Lions game. The Lions loaded the box against the Cowboys, and they neutralized the run game. That's all Green Bay did.
which comes down to coaching to me. I think they were not properly coached or well coached going into this game. And I think looking back on it, I can't prove this, of course, that this is a team that read their own headlines. They've won 16 straight games at home. They averaged 37 points at home. Green Bay barely got into the playoffs. We're going to roll the ball out there and show up, and we're going to win the way we've won virtually every other game in the last 2 years at home.
I just think for Dallas Cowboys, there are, maybe three positions that they need to address. They have to address the running game because Tony Pollard is not a 1A running back. I think you have to bring in another wide receiver to complement CeeDee Lamb in his passing game. And defensively, you have to get some linebackers and some interior defensive linemen other than Hankins, and maybe some linebackers that can get downhill and that are physical at the point of attack.
It's so funny you say that, though, Plax, because I sat here all year long, and all I kept hearing out of Dallas on the Micah Parsons podcast called I'm Micah Parsons, listen to my podcast, was how great Micah Parsons was, how he's a difference maker, how he makes offensive coordinators have sleepless nights, how you can't account for him, how you can't block him, how you can't stop him, how he's a game wrecker and a quarterback wrecker. And all I know is that in every big game that I've watched Dallas play this year, I can't find Micah Parsons on video. And then what I do is I go to the stat sheet and I go, 0 sacks.
I don't remember that pressure.
Tackles for loss, 0. 1 pressure.
I don't remember that pressure or
1
that hit.
quarterback hit. And I'm saying to myself, that's the next Lawrence Taylor?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
It was crazy is all they did was neutralize him by chipping him. Like Aaron Jones, really was eating his ribs up. Like I'm looking at Michael Parsons like, listen, how many times you need to get hit in the mouth to realize I shouldn't keep running at the running back, right?
Yeah.
Like do something different. And he didn't. And I'm struggling to understand is when is Michael Parsons going to realize just shut up?
Right.
Because if you're going to do that, there's no need.
Well,
to
he's
talk.
got plenty of time to do his podcast now. And by the way, if I'm Lawrence Taylor, I would say this. Don't ever mention my name in the same sentence as his name ever again because the proof is in the pudding.
Towards the end of the game, he was back in coverage a couple times. I'm thinking like Dan Quinn, why are you taking your best pass rusher when you're down and dropping him back in coverage? Why?
It's called waving the white
flag.
flag.
The whole thing was a poop show, and that's why Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh, I want to keep his name afloat here too. Makes a lot of sense. I feel bad for Mike McCarthy. But look, Mike's made a lot of money. He's good. He'll get another job as an offensive coordinator somewhere else. But it's over. In Dallas, the experiment is over. And somewhere, Jason Garrett's going. And by the way, right next to Jason Garrett, Tony Romo's going.
And don't forget Kellen Moore.
For sure.
Bunch of losers. Anyway, from that, here's a fair question to ask you guys. We all know that Dak Prescott had a bad game. And because he had a bad game, the Dallas Cowboys, yet again, are on their way to Cabo for a little R&R. But who was the most disappointing quarterback this weekend? Was it Dak Prescott? Was it the tongue and Tim Tebow Tua? Or was it Joe Flacco? Obviously, they all lost.
Interesting.
And obviously, some of those stats are, obviously pumped up because games are out of hand late, and you just get meaningless stats and touchdowns. But if you had to pick one of those three, which quarterback was the worst?
I got to say Dak, man. I'm going to be honest. I thought Dak was going to light it up, especially with him being at home with the offense that we've grown to love this season, led by CeeDee Lamb. I thought he was going to be way better with the football, and I thought he was going to be the difference. I thought he was going to outplay Jordan Love. And by the way, I love Jordan Love, and I've talked about glowingly about what he looked like after Week 10 and how from the neck up, the game has slowed down, the offense has evolved.
Yeah,
he's evolved
so you said Dak, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. Who are you picking?
How you going to give me an option to say I'm wrong? I'm like,
I like it. I
how
like
you
it.
do that?
By the way, and you're wrong. Yeah, it's multiple guesses and you got it wrong. You're out.
I think it's the only one you want.
You know what? I got to go with Tua, man.
Yes, that's the right answer.
Because
that's the answer.
I just think this was the most explosive offense in all of football.
Interception.
And he was he wasn't accurate at all. I remember a 4th and 16 play. In the fourth quarter, he throws a quick slant.
Yes.
And that showed me that he had given up mentally and physically.
Yep.
Now you're not even throwing the football down the field to compete for a first down. It's 4th and 16 and you're throwing a quick slant?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes
Good
no
answer.
sense to me.
How are you
and for
wrong?
this
No.
quarterback
That's not
to
wrong.
go out there with the weapons that he had, listen, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they didn't happen. They didn't help him because I saw one time Jalen Waddle was looking at the defender and the ball hadn't even hit his hands yet. They were scared to get hit. They didn't want to compete for the football at all. Tua was throwing the ball all over the yard. And listen, the Kansas City Chiefs are not one of the top 5 or top 10 defenses in all of football.
Neither is the Green Bay Packers.
But, man, for them to go out there and lay an egg the way that they did, only 7 points.
It's okay to be wrong.
It's okay.
No, but we're talking about, you
It's
said
okay.
what's the most disappointing?
It was Tua.
How is it not that?
Tua.
12-5.
They got a record-breaking offense, and they couldn't score
NFC
8
champ.
points.
That was MVP candidate. We're talking about not a failure.
So is Tua. So is Tyreek Hill. The expectations versus reality. Dak moved the ball. Tua did not
threw
move
2
the
picks
ball.
that went to the crib.
Don't, let's not forget Joe Flacco. Let's not forget Joe
Here's the
Flacco.
deal.
Okay.
Let's not forget Joe Flacco.
Now we want to throw old man Flacco, right?
Just want to
the hell
bring
is
it back
a
up
Disney
again.
run. I was pro Flacco all the way. Listen, Dak, this is Flacco. Oh, God, Joe.
Joseph.
And
You can't tell me Dak's not the most disappointing out
I'll
of
tell you
the
what,
three.
I got another Joe Flacco one for you, just in case you forgot. Here's number 2.
Oh,
That
was back
That
to
was
back.
like 5 minutes of real time.
He's not even running. Joe, put in some effort. Picking these up.
So look, right,
No.
wrong.
I am right.
It's okay. It's okay.
How can you
It's
say
okay.
that? Of all people, is that the most disappointing quarterback of that weekend?
Yeah, because the answer's to it.
He lost to Jordan Love.
Again, I'm sorry that you got it wrong.
No.
It's okay. Maybe your Steelers will keep the game close to that.
Maybe your expectations were too high for Tua. I guess.
Okay. It's okay.
They
I
were.
love you. I love you. I
You were right
appreciate
about
you.
the Packers.
Anyhow, we got much more coming up.
You guys are all idiots.
Cowboys lose to Green Bay. Kansas City takes care of Miami. We got the 2 games today. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But now you have to ask your question. If the Green Bay Packers can go into Dallas and drop damn near a 50-burger on the Cowboys, what are they going to do in San Francisco this upcoming weekend? They're underdog by 10. Does that even mean anything? Anyhow, welcome back to the Carton Show. Good to have you here. Yesterday, watching the game on Fox, I got a kick out of that young family that was at the game. And you have one kid who's a Packer fan, and his brother was a Cowboy fan. And
Very different.
Mama's boy. Yeah, and you notice how the one kid sitting next to his pops, and the Cowboy fans crying in Mama's lap.
Look, Mom and Dad are both Packers fans, so that one kid was like, screw y'all.
That's right.
I'm a Cowboy fan, and he regrets it
Listen,
now.
that's how I became a Jet fan, because my dad was a Giants fan, right? So those kids are like, screw you, Mommy. Screw you, Daddy. I'm a Cowboy fan.
They're going to be fighting later now.
Oh,
They're going to be in the
yeah.
backyard throwing hands.
Hey,
Although-
his mom like, telling me, leave him alone.
My gut is that kid, because that's how kids are today, will find a Packer jersey in his closet this morning and go to school, or tomorrow when schools are back. I'm a Packer fan now. Scallywags, front-running weasels that they have out there in Dallas. In any event, sucks to be a Dallas Cowboy fan.
It's a rough morning for Dallas, man.
But
Tough.
look, they're the most obnoxious fans in the NFL and the biggest front runners. So I love the fact that they now have to wake up today to the reality of when they go back to work, if you're not working today, there's nothing worse than when you know you got to go to work and those dudes who you're tight with in the cubicles next to you are rooting for the team that won. There's nothing worse than that, and that's going to happen across America here in the next couple days. So from that, we can now take you, I believe, to more on the Green Bay Packers taking care of business against the Dallas Cowboys and a little something we call a first in football.
Little interesting wrinkle on this game from the Packers. We have a little sound from Coach Matt LaFleur comparing this year's sort of energy to last year's energy. And remember who the quarterback was last year.
Wide open. Look at that.
I think I can say that about our whole team, is there's a different energy about our team. It's so much fun to come to work with these guys every day, and these guys do just the way they compete and push each other, and I'm just happy for those guys.
There's a different energy about this team. It's so much fun to come to work every day.
Yeah.
Is that a shot at Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because remember, Aaron Rodgers couldn't get them to the playoffs last year, and Jordan Love did. And look, One of the things you guys have experienced is when you have the youngest team in the history of football to make it to the playoffs, that can be contagious, right? And you're not all worried about, oh my God, I messed up my route. Aaron's going to yell at me. Or, oh no, I dropped the ball. Aaron's going to yell at me. One of the things about Aaron Rodgers at the end of his time in Green Bay is that he sucked all the oxygen out of every room.
Yep.
And everybody was walking on eggshells because he's a 4-time MVP and he won the Super Bowl. And it was his team. It wasn't their team, it was his. And now you see the difference when you have a young group of guys led by a young quarterback who hasn't achieved anything, so he's in the same boat everyone's in.
Right.
To be fair, though, it's easy to say that after a major upset win in the postseason, because now you obviously have a chance to kind of dig back because you've had success.
No, but Craig, I told you before this game started, the one bright spot with this Packer team is they've never been here before, especially with this team, right? So you don't know what you don't know. You're just going in hard, battle hard, and ready to fight, and ready to take on challenge. And that's what they did. But the difference, you talk about the energy, was the run game, led by Aaron Jones. You're talking about the last 3 games prior to this, having over 100 yards in each of those 3 games. You're talking about this offensive line standing strong, allowing Jordan Love to be better with the football, and him being able to step into the pocket. So overall, man, like this energy that he's talking about, it's a youthful energy, but it's also because of this run game, right? Like they know they can throw the ball, but when you have Aaron Jones healthy and actually leading the charge, at least for better takes.
I can tell you this: last year we spent the entire summer talking about Mark Murphy and Gunnelschwinkter, whatever his name is.
Gutekunst.
Whatever his name is. Gutekunst, whatever his name is. I guarantee you those 2 guys are still drunk today.
Right,
because they took the beating from Aaron Rodgers, how they forced me out. They didn't call me or text me. They didn't respect my underground visits and all that ayahuasca crap. And they both said, look, we got to get rid of this guy, and we believe in Jordan Love. And I guarantee you those 2 guys, Gutekunst and Mark Murphy, are sitting there still popping bottles today.
Hey, man, that's one common denominator to all these teams that won football games.
Right? Yeah.
One common denominator. When your quarterback plays well, you win football games. Now you're talking about the Green Bay Packers as being one of the youngest team in the playoffs. And listen, look at this. The wide receiver core as a whole, they led the NFL in yards, they led the NFL in catches, and they led the NFL in touchdowns as a group. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Jordan Reed.
And think about what you just said.
All because of Jordan Love.
Yeah, and Jordan didn't even have a catch in the game, and they didn't need him to. He was the leading receiver all year, which is a good point. Jordan Love did with those guys what Aaron Rodgers couldn't do and didn't do. Now, that doesn't mean the Jets are going to suck next year. We'll worry about that next year. I am concerned about it.
It's on the board.
Sounds like a word.
It's on the board.
I am worried about it.
Like
but now's not the time for me to worry about the Jets because you guys don't care. And that's my own little thing. And I'll go to confession today and it'll be all good.
You care, Craig.
That being said, that's the difference. Right, you have a young, quarterback in his first experience as a starter throughout the entire season, leading a group of young men to a place where the old cagey veteran couldn't take them to. So good job by the Schwink and good job by Murphy making a very tough decision.
I'm glad you mentioned the first playoff experience for Jordan Love because it was also C.J. Stroud's as well. I know that game felt like it was 3 weeks ago, but when you look at their numbers, they both kind of had identical games. When you look at their numbers side by side, look at that, 16 for 21 apiece, 2 yards away from each other passing yards, touchdown interceptions the exact same, passing rating the exact same, and these are their first playoff games, and they had exact same stats.
Yeah, so what's crazy is that's apparently what they refer to as a perfect passer rating. I don't even want to get into it. Makes no sense to me. But what's amazing about that is that we're both lauding their performance, rightfully so, because they both played great playoff games, their first ever experience in the playoffs. But the reality is that those stats also belie what happened in the game. Their opponents didn't show up, and their defenses scored points. Because if you only complete 16 passes in an NFL game, that usually means your offense stunk. Obviously, in this case, they didn't need a prolific offense because their defense also dominated the game.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it also shows you that these 2 young quarterbacks are the future of the NFL. They were ready for the moment and they didn't fall.
Yeah.
And can we give this young man behind you some love and put him over there where Dak Prescott is. Because
okay.
Dak Prescott,
Okay, Flash.
he's going to be in Turks and Caicos for probably a month or so. So give this man C.J. Stroud some love.
Yeah.
Man.
There you go.
Give him some love.
Matter of fact, if I can, let's do a little housekeeping. Dak Prescott, done. Sorry. Joe Flacco.
Oh, Flacco.
Joe.
Oh, Joe. Joe. Dude, that was pick 6.
If I may.
That's the big fish.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Yo, back at it. Yeah, there you go.
All right, now, from that to our favorite Monday morning segment, I love something we call Get Learnt. These are all the things I learned this weekend. Start off with the Dallas-Green Bay game. Here's what I learned. I learned that no matter how many great regular seasons the Dallas Cowboys have, you cannot trust them in January. I don't care who's coaching or who's quarterbacking. To date, the only guy that can change that is either named Harbaugh or Belichick. But right now, I learned you just can't trust the Cowboys.
And you got to be able to read the tea leaves, right? They struggled defensively towards the back end of the season. At the end of the day, we thought Dak was going to be different. He wasn't. This was a bad showing for the Cowboys. I'm over him.
I also figured out this weekend that when Bill Belichick wins the Super Bowl in Dallas, that'll be more impressive than Tom Brady winning one in Tampa.
That will never happen.
Okay. I just crossed it off my list. Thanks, Flax. Good seeing you. Thanks for coming, Mr. Burns. Flax, good. Yeah, okay. Here's the second thing I learned this weekend. The New York Jets signed the wrong Green Bay Packers quarterback.
Yep.
Should have tried to make a deal for Jordan Love and not Aaron Rodgers. Flax.
Youth wins there, Craig. Youth wins.
And by the way,
you're just looking for somebody to play quarterback for his team.
yeah,
Doesn't matter who it
you
is.
guys can't throw so good. So, yeah, I need somebody. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love was gettable last year. There's no guarantee that Jordan Love.
Gettable. They were talking about
of the
drafting him.
season, you were throwing Jordan Love under the bus.
Yeah, I
you
was.
didn't think the guy was a competent
No, I still don't think he's
franchise quarterback.
Yeah, all right.
You still don't think he's good?
I think he's fine. I don't think he's great.
Oh, God, Craig.
I think he got cute because the Cowboys gave up and didn't play defense
No.
yesterday.
What does he need
and
to
I'll tell you
do?
what, since we're on it.
What does he need to do?
Since we're on it.
What does he need to do?
Get him, Craig.
The man beat the Cowboys at home.
Okay, first of all,
Dominated.
they were 9-8 this year. Let's relax with how great Jordan Love is, if I may. All right, he had a great playoff game. Here's what's going to bite him in the ass. Jordan Love got cocky yesterday.
How?
Because the Dallas Cowboy defense decided we have no interest in playing today. Every Jordan Love pass was like this, leaning backwards,
But that's his throwing style.
sideways, all the crap. Right. He thought he was the younger version of Aaron Rodgers. It's going to bite him in the ass against San Francisco. You watch. Three picks.
But that is his style of play.
Yeah.
He's been playing like that.
How you gonna get mad at this man because he got his own style? By the way, he's doing it and delivering. It's not like he's messing up.
Here's why. Because you guys sit here like we've seen like the coming out party for Jordan Love.
We've
like
seen this a
like
few
he's a
times
Hall
now.
of Famer now.
What we haven't seen is the coming out party for Aaron Rodgers on the Jets. Let's just say that.
And
Yeah,
which
see,
may
take it.
never happen.
Flag on the play.
Yeah, flag back at you.
Which one that may never happen.
And a challenge flag as well.
This is his first full year as a starting quarterback, man.
You're
guys-
just a bitter man.
Not at all.
He's 60 minutes away from the NFC Championship.
That's
man.
correct. Or by losing by 30 to San Francisco.
I don't think
and
so.
the
That
machine
won't
that's
happen.
Brock
It won't
Purdy.
happen. If he goes out and
God.
plays the way that he played yesterday,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot closer game than
And what you
think
gonna
it
say
is.
then, Craig?
Here's what I'm going to say.
30?
He ain't playing the Cowboy defense next week.
Oh, okay.
He's playing San
I
Fran's
don't
defense.
care who you play against. When you're throwing the ball like that in
Yeah.
holes and tight spaces,
And running the ball with Aaron Jones.
Dobbs.
Can you guys show the video
No,
of the
show
wide
run.
open tight end?
That's
and
very
tell me
tight
how,
space.
How
Very-
great.
It's just one play.
Hang on. Oh, Jordan Love
He's
played a
under
great
pressure.
game. Stop it. The guy's
Throw it
there's
on his back foot.
Not under
Flash,
pressure.
There's not a defender.
How open It's a designed play, Craig.
Watch this, watch
It's
this.
a tight end
Freeze
high.
it, freeze it, freeze it. Where's the defense?
It's a designed play. That's what the players are meant to do.
By the way,
Tight window you're
They
talking about?
run the over route and they
Yeah.
run the tight end underneath the linebackers and they wheel them out. It's a design
Called
play.
execution,
hang on.
Craig.
Yeah, San Fran doesn't let that happen.
Mike McCarthy's
By the way, the Cowboy cheerleaders are closer to making a tackle here than any Cowboy defender.
What else?
Hey.
Hey, that's what the players meant for.
I just don't understand what you. I can't. You're hating perfection. It was a perfect play, perfect call, perfect pass.
No, you got to blame Dallas a little bit for that.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, but what do you
I
want?
mean, it's a great play call.
Just slow the roll a teeny bit is all I'm saying.
Why?
Jordan Love had-
what?
Why don't you want it? But you love C.J. Stroud, but you don't
Love
Jordan
C.J.
Love?
Stroud. Love C.J. Stroud.
So what's wrong with
He's been a
Jordan
better
Love?
quarterback than Jordan Love all year.
Yeah,
Let's be fair about
I agree with that.
Thank you. Let's move on now, please. It's a segment. You're ruining it. All right. All right, you're not going to like this one. Here's what I learned this weekend. I learned that a lot of people are overreacting to the Kansas City Chiefs win. First off, they were at home. Second off, they beat the 6th seed. Third off, it was 90 below zero. Good win, but let's slow our roll just a little
Craig,
bit.
you made me want to throw up in my pants.
I mean,
I would just do that.
Hey, it wasn't just a normal 6 seed though. You even picked the Miami Dolphins to go in there and get that win.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
30
normal.
points. Tua, Tyreek, Waddle. We even talked about how this run game is underrated, how good it was.
Yeah.
They were stagnant. They were still. They didn't even want to get off the
And
plane.
the Miami Dolphins have nobody to blame but themselves.
Yeah, they
They
suck.
had a 3-game lead with 5 games left.
I agree.
And
And they blew
folded.
the AFC. They had a chance to get a home game.
That's right.
They let Buffalo come in there and get a win on the last game of the season.
That's right.
They have nobody but to blame for
By the way,
Buffalo's going to blow them out.
But this, no, but
I want to be clear. I agree with everything you just said. The Miami Dolphins have nobody to blame but themselves. But I also learned a valuable lesson I didn't know. I'll take ownership of that going in. I didn't realize that Miami was afraid to tackle in the cold weather. And I really kind of threw out into the cold weather the notion that they hadn't beaten anybody good this year. They hadn't.
Yeah, but
that's real.
But
and it
Craig,
came back to bite him in the
You talk
butt.
about going to this game, how the drops, how Patrick Mahomes not the same
Yeah.
as this defense won't do anything.
Yeah.
They didn't change their offense. They threw the ball. They ran the ball with Pacheco.
Yeah.
They played solid defense. They played well at home, and they got the hell out the building.
Yeah.
And I told you, a team who's 11-3 in the playoffs
Yeah.
is going to show up and win another one in the
And I'm going to give you another thing.
Go.
I'm not going to go against a Steve Spagnuolo coach defense in the playoffs.
Because that's your guy.
I'm not going to
That's
do
your
it.
guy.
If you're a team in the AFC,
Yeah.
can you completely just write off the Kansas City Chiefs?
You can't
and
write
say
them off.
They won't.
No.
They
But
you
won't get to the
are.
AFC
But as much
Championship
as you
game.
talk about the great Steve Spagnuolo, Joe Burrow had no problem going to KC and abusing his defense.
When was this
stuff?
Huh?
What was this?
2 out of the last 4
What year
years.
is it?
Oh, it's not
Thank
the
you.
current year,
No,
it
it's
isn't.
been
All
there.
right, we'll worry about Buffalo next week. Don't worry about it. It's
Back
all
in the
good.
AFC Championship
All right,
game.
another thing I learned this week is that the Dallas Cowboys will not extend Dak Prescott this offseason. After yesterday's performance, there's no reason to.
Can't.
I wouldn't.
Can't give that guy $200 million bucks after
Cannot do
yesterday.
that. No.
I won't agree with that.
I don't
Cannot
think that's
do
going to
that.
happen.
You cannot bring out the checkbook
Another
after
thing
that.
I learned yesterday, Dan Quinn is unreliable to be anybody's next head coach. He will not get a head coaching job this go-round.
I wouldn't agree with.
Yeah, I think that's unfair.
I wouldn't agree with that.
maybe you didn't watch the game.
The defense didn't play well yesterday, and he wasn't a great coach when he was in Atlanta either. So
Gave up over 400 yards, gave
Zero
up almost
sacks.
8 yards a clip, 0 takeaways, 0 sacks. And oh, by the way, they
Zero
scored
heart,
48
Even
points.
this
Zero
guy's name
effort.
yesterday, DeMarcus
To be
Lawrence.
fair, 48's really 41 because there was a pick 6 in there.
Yeah.
And I can even knock it down to 34. It still sucks. And that's on Dan Quinn's
Yeah,
watch.
but I
so.
think if you watch the game, I think he tried to adjust. He tried to blitz and he tried to play coverages. He tried to do a lot of things. It was the players that
I
failed.
buy that, but he's going to take responsibility because you know the old adage, you can't fire 53 guys. So who gets fired? Head coach gets fired. Defensive coordinator gets fired. Dan Quinn will not be with the Dallas Cowboys next year. And he's not going to be a head coach. He'll be a DC somewhere else. He'll not be in
he's a
Dallas.
damn
one
good
of the
defensive
best defensive coordinators all year long.
One of the worst
One of the
defensive
top 5
performances all year long.
Yeah, remember who the
And
owner
one
is.
game.
The owner's not going to tolerate that performance by anybody. They're all going to be gone. And if you're a
Well, go get
Dallas
some
Cowboys
linebackers.
fan, I think you support that.
Interesting.
Real quick, I got 2 left, or 1 left. The Detroit Lions are going to the NFC Championship game. They defended home turf. I thought the game yesterday was going to be their toughest game, regardless of who they played at home. They have Philly or Tampa coming next week, but the Detroit Lions are going to defend that home turf, and they're going to San Francisco in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I can see it. They played well. But the bottom line, if you allow Jared Goff to sit in the pocket and deliver the football time after time, they're going to go all the way. The Rams couldn't get to him at all, like even with Aaron Donald in the company.
Yeah, and
He
the
sat
final
there.
one for you, Plags, is we finally figured out who Mike McDaniel's dad is. I'm saying I'm not sure if there's any question, but I had a question about it.
Oh.
It turns out that Mike McDaniel is related to Humpty Hump from the Digital Underground.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Pretty good. No?
Yeah.
No.
Pretty close. Or his son.
If anybody even remember who the hell Humpty was, we may be a little outdated there. Yeah.
Anyhow, coming up, one more segment to go over the debacle in Dallas yesterday, and who we're going to blame the most is the Dallas Cowboys failed. They had won 16 consecutive games at home and were averaging 37 points. They lost yesterday 48-32. Jordan Love gets his first playoff win. And now, how quickly do we break apart the Dallas Cowboys?
Good morning. Welcome back to the Carton Show. We have your early morning headlines, and we start with the big game in Big D. It was that man, Jordan Love, and the Packers who absolutely dominated the Cowboys. The question for you, Craig, is did we just watch Mike McCarthy coach his last game for the Cowboys?
Yeah, we did. He knows it. Everybody knows it. Like that, you went into this season, and we all understood what was on the line, right? This was going to be year 4, Mike McCarthy in Dallas. You got the one playoff win against Tampa a year ago, so you got that kind of proverbial monkey off your back. And this was supposed to be the year you advanced to the NFC Championship game. And, man, December went perfect for you because Philly collapsed. You get the division. You get home field advantage. And then what do? You throw it away to essentially a rookie quarterback and a 9-8 football team that needed week 17 just to get into the playoffs. Like, what do you want Jerry Jones to do? How many more years are we going to put the same guys out there and get the same results? He showed a lot of patience with Jason Garrett. It didn't pay off. He's 81 years old. Time is running out for him to be able to enjoy a legitimate Super Bowl run. And this was supposed to be the team that gave it to him. And when you show up, or don't show up, in the manner they did at home against the Green Bay Packers, who now have 3 playoff wins in your building, and you only have 2, people get fired. We're adults. That's part of the deal. This is the business we've chosen. And Mike McCarthy knows full well, start packing your boxes because it is a wrap for him in Dallas. There are 2 names that are out there. One, of course, is Bill Belichick. We've been on that since December 13th. Another one, of course, is Jim Harbaugh. And I'm going to throw a 3rd name into the mix. And you guys are going to poo-poo it, and that's fine. I'm used to being alone on an island with genius thoughts. The 3rd guy that I would consider to bring in there would be Rex Ryan. Now, we can debate that another day, but I can guarantee you this. Mike McCarthy will not be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. And Exhibit 1 is what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, solely because what this defense hasn't been able to do. One thing I tell you first and foremost, Rex Ryan is the defensive genius. Bottom line, he comes from a great pedigree. Obviously, his father, Buddy Ryan, and obviously he has a brother also. But the bottom line is, Dak is not the issue. Dak played bad yesterday, but through the course of the season, he's been money, especially with this offense led by CeeDee Lamb. What you watched yesterday was this defense for the Dallas Cowboys flat out not show up, right? And one of the things that one of the sore spots for the Dallas Cowboys was their run game, the lack of.
Yeah, but I think the issue with Dak for the Dallas Cowboys is that he's kind of in no man's land. And by that I mean he's not the problem all year long. He had a great regular season, but he's clearly not the solution either.
You know, I'm sitting here looking at what everybody's talking about, who's going to be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy's going to get fired. Dan Quinn's going to get fired. But when I look at the coach, Mike McCarthy didn't get out coached. Dan Quinn didn't get out coached.
Oh, I thought they did.
They just got physically beat up and destroyed. And more than anything, he didn't get out schemed offensively or defensively. Mike McCarthy didn't have his team ready to play from a mental standpoint.
Look, bottom line, however you want to color it, whether you want to blame the coaches or not, you want to blame the players or not.
They want bad coaching decisions.
Well, when I see a guy wide open by 25 yards, I got to blame coaching for that.
Well, they busted coverage. They weren't a tight end high, those kind of playing.
But you guys know how it works.
But he didn't get out schemed in situational football situations.
Well,
the team just
then he didn't have his team ready.
Physically. He didn't have the team ready.
Yeah, and if that's on him, fine. If that's on the players, I accept that too. But as I said 20 minutes ago, you guys know the old adage, you can't fire 53 guys. So who becomes the fall guy? The coach that lost.
But there are different style of coaches. You know, coaches who are great, coaches in situational football and having your team ready to play and great motivators. I don't see Mike McCarthy as being one of those motivators that his team really want to jump on the sword for.
But this is what we're going to go to Aaron Jones and his big run. But this is what we saw out of all day from Aaron Jones and his Packer offense. Coming downhill, and what they did was they owned the line of scrimmage. They dominated with this Green Bay Packer offensive line. This is Aaron Jones, gashing and slashing all day. You talk about will versus want to. This is a playoff. You talk about the tight end on the backside, chopping down the D on the backside and getting to the second level. Aaron Jones right now, what he's doing for this offense, he's added balance, right? You talking about running between the tackles, having a physical brand of football right now is what you need in the playoffs. So for me, I'm looking at Aaron Jones and I'm looking at this Packer offense. It really doesn't matter what Jordan Love does because as long as you're able to run the ball like this, you're going to have success. And that's what they did.
And I think if you're Jerry Jones, you have to fire Mike McCarthy because if you're a player on this team right now and you're coming into the building in the offseason and going into the next season, from a player standpoint, you're saying to yourself, oh, man, we got to go play for Mike McCarthy again this season.
Same old thing.
And that's not what you.
Well, that's an indictment on Mike McCarthy.
They go to the Super Bowl. It's easy for Jerry Jones to say, all right, Dan Quinn back, Mike McCarthy back. Let's get CD a new contract. Let's get Dak a new contract. Let's get Mike a new contract. Yeah. But now all of that is on the table. So it's not just the coaching decisions. He's got a lot of personnel decisions.
Yeah, but it's very hard to find that kind of talent, too. Mike is going to get a new deal. He's going to be a Cowboy for a long time. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb's going to get a new deal. Just had the single-season record for wide receivers. The question is more about Dak because you got $59 million against the cap going to Dak, and they're in a weird space because he is a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Top 5.
Well, we can debate that for sure, but he's a good quarterback. He's had moments of greatness. No one's going to argue that. But when you fail in the biggest spots, what does it matter if you're a top 10 or even a top 5 quarterback?
Yeah, but it's hard to replace, right? And that's the
point.
Yeah.
I think when you look back on the 2023-2024 NFL season, it was the worst quarterback play that the league has had in a very long time. And outside of maybe 7 or 8 guys, the quarterback play was very mediocre, if not flat-out average across the league. Dak Prescott, regular season, was one of those 7 or 8 guys.
Yeah.
Postseason, again, and that's the bugaboo on Dak, he didn't show up, made bad plays, offense stunk. So the Cowboys are in a pickle because there's not a lot of guys better than him. There's nobody available. That's an upgrade from him. And yet we can all agree he's not a $250 million quarterback right now either. So I think Dak Prescott survives it. He's certainly on the team next year.
Yeah, he's
got a year left on the contract and a no-trade clause. But there's got to be, someone's got to pay for a loss like that. Again, if you lose a good game and you played your asses off and you lost on a fluke play or a 65-yard field goal beats you, it sucks, but everybody comes back. When you lose a game and you're a division champion and you've got home field up to the NFC Championship game and a 9-8 team comes into your building where, oh, by the way, you've won 16 straight games and you throw that kind of dud, I'm sorry. People have to get fired. And don't feel bad for them. They're all multimillionaires. They're all going to be fine.
Yeah, but it's not
They're not worried about paying their mortgages.
It's not about the money. It's about losing the window, right? And the Cowboys are losing the window to possibly win a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And when you fire a head coach like Mike McCarthy, you're talking about a regression, right?
Because you're not.
How do you not?
Because I'm going to get a guy that's better.
No.
But
that's why.
But you're not bringing in an offensive-minded coach. You're bringing in a defensive-minded coach.
You got to come in. You got to start all over.
You got to
learn a new playbook, offensive.
Oh, it's not that hard.
Yes, it is.
Come on.
But Craig,
you just don't jump into a brand new offense and go out there and execute it to the point to where you make it to the Super Bowl.
Here's what I learned.
Those things don't happen.
Here's what I learned about play calling, if I may, and I don't mean to be critical of you guys.
It sounds like you're about to.
If the quarterback goes red roses, R means right, the play's to the right. If the quarterback goes lucky losers, the play's to the left. How hard is that?
I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that simplistic.
If it was that easy, you'd be playing.
Right, you'd be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Oh, it's horrible.
Red rum. Oh, I think I got to run to the right here.
Please.
It ain't that difficult. Anyhow, Mike McCarthy has one playoff win, 4 years, and he's no longer the Cowboys head coach. Pack your bags. You'll be a defensive coordinator somewhere else. And now back to the biggest Bills fan on the show, David Jacoby.
Lifelong Bills fan here, David Jacoby. And we got a game between the Bills and the Steelers. And I just want to say this. Willie,
yes,
I'm giving you one opportunity right now to take back your Steelers pick.
How about take back these?
You can get off of it. You can get off it. Look at the stadium.
Yeah, it's a summer day in Pittsburgh. We're not scared of no snow. It's Steeler weather. What do you want us to say to that? Oh, first of all, how are you going to shut down football because of snow? This is supposed to be an advantage for Buffalo, but you know why? Because it snows in Pittsburgh. You guys got scared. They like the snow too, and we're coming downhill with no fear.
Hey, the Buffalo Bills fans was upset that the game was postponed. They was
like this is something you pray to
light
play.
ourselves on fire. We're going to the football.
Look at my guy right there,
Shirtless.
shirtless.
No shirts on. You shirtless. Happy about this?
Meanwhile, they put out an APB that all these people that are working in the stadium, they're making $20 an hour.
$20 an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good living, by the way.
Yeah.
There you go. Obviously, the reason the game was postponed was because the roads were shut down. There was a travel ban in Buffalo, and they got 3 feet of snow. Yeah. They're getting another 6 or 7 inches throughout the course of today. And right there, pound for pound, they said the best co-host in the business.
That's
Get a close-up
easy.
of him right there.
18
degrees. There you go.
That's a
3
cake.
degrees.
Go,
with the
Bill.
wind chill.
Cake.
Who you think be the
You
best
guys better
quarterback
cover,
today?
too. You better cover, Bill.
The better. Oh, come on.
Who do you think be the better quarterback today on Monday?
Don't do that. Don't be that
I'm just
guy.
saying, who do you think?
Josh Allen's a better
You think Josh
quarterback
Allen?
today, tomorrow.
Do you think it's going to be Josh Allen with that face?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Oh, I'm just saying.
Sunday,
I got
Monday.
a graphic for you. And
God. Oh, God.
Is
William.
Ben playing tonight?
No, Ben's not playing.
Hold on, stop 1 second.
Yes.
Before you show us the graphic, you have this much credibility left.
I have a lot. I have big credibility after this week.
Are you willing, Mr. Joe Flacco's going to win a playoff game in Houston?
What bet?
Are you willing to throw that credibility out the window?
I'm just trying to say, I want to show you what Josh Allen looks like on Mondays.
Okay,
Can we throw it
go
up
ahead.
there?
Here we
Let me
go.
oh, look at that. Oh,
This season on Monday.
This season. Oh, for 2, 3 touchdowns.
This season
Flex,
on
can you pull out the
Mondays.
turnovers?
I can. On the bottom of the red, it says 3-5 in career on Monday.
It's 7 turnovers, Craig.
61%
On Monday.
passer rating.
Craig, what's today's date?
Today's Monday.
Today's a Monday, Craig. Today, bottom line is, when you say, listen, 0 for 2, 3 touchdowns, 7 turnovers on a Monday, here we go.
Although it is not Monday Night Football,
Yeah.
the Steelers are exceptional on Monday.
I will say this.
I saw Mason Rudolph get hit with
I
the
want to
helmet
say
on
this.
Monday.
I appreciate it.
What do you mean?
You guys played for the Steelers. You're loyal to the Steelers. Here we go.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
And you're not going to waver on thinking that Mike Tomlin is going to devise some type of way to win a game. Here's the best news. If somehow, some way, and I don't think it's going to happen, the Pittsburgh Steelers upset the Bills
I'm not
today.
feeling well.
This would be
How do you
one of the-
come to work tomorrow?
I'm not feeling well. I'm not
How
feeling
did you
well.
show up?
Great.
This would be one of the greatest wins in franchise history.
I agree with
You
you.
If they
extend Mike
go to
Tomlin's
Buffalo
contract after
and
this
win
week.
game
Yes.
tonight.
Here's the upside. If Pittsburgh wins, this whole thing stops over here.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
No.
Jacoby should be set on fire if the Steelers win.
Yes.
I will set myself on
All
fire.
right, so look, the Bills are favored by 10 today's game, and obviously everyone gets there safely. They plowed the roads. There is a bunch of snow. The wind chills are 3. Not going to be fun to be there, but the game is at 4:30 today. Why not just go to picks on this game? Is it obvious you're taking the Bills?
Yeah, I'm
laying
not saying to
10?
take the Bills, yeah.
Yeah, and you're taking the Steelers plus
Steelers
10.
have the best record on Mondays. Bottom line.
I'm
They own
taking
Mondays.
the Steelers plus 10.
Jacoby, you're in there. It's official, yeah?
Yeah, it's official.
14-3 since 2010.
Okay.
Craig on Mondays.
Just put him up there. The guys are obviously taking the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
They played for
You know
Pittsburgh.
what?
I'm not still taking the Bills.
I'm not going to abandon my. I didn't pick that team.
Here you go,
My heart.
Here you
My
go,
heart
Flex.
dropped.
I'm not. Man, get that away from me, man.
All right,
I'm not abandoning my Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, let's go from there. That's the early game. That's at 4:30 today. And then the team that we have not talked about in a while because they're a dysfunctional mess, obviously, and they're on the road against Tampa. A.J. Brown is out for tonight's game. The Philadelphia Eagles against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Spreads come down 0.5 points, 2.5 now. Philly's been favored since the game first got announced. Can Philly right the ship and figure out what their problems have been and get a win against Tampa on the road?
I cannot believe in a quarterback that hasn't thrown a football all week because of a dislocated finger. I
great
can't.
question.
Seriously. Like, I'm honestly going with the Bucs here. I got the
Really?
Bucs. Yeah, I think Bucs and Todd Bowles and this defense, they're going to show up. And now it's up to Baker and what he does with the football.
All right, well, I guess we're doing official picks now, so Plague's hang tight. Jacoby, you're up first.
So,
do you like Philly -2.5 for Tampa tonight? Go ahead.
I like the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't feel great about it. I could see the Eagles dominating this one. I could see them getting dominated. I have no idea if I'm picking Eagles.
There's nothing really that stands out to me about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensively and defensively other than Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield's been playing pretty good football over the last month, but the Eagles don't need A.J. Brown to play tonight to win this game, so I'm going with the Eagles.
I'm going with the Buccaneers, man.
Really?
I believe in Todd Bowles and his defense. Now it's up to Baker. What can he do with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? Can they show up and be a factor? We'll see. But I've got the Bucs. Fire the cannon!
You've just been taking all the underdogs. I like it.
And I've won.
Meanwhile, there's a little storyline that's we should pay a little attention to before we get out of here for Undisputed coming up in a few minutes, and that is A.J. Brown is out. Not going to play after he hurt his knee against the Giants. And people in Philly are ticked because A.J. Brown, give me the picture right here, was not with the team, I guess, yesterday. He was ringside at Atlantic City for a boxing match. Now, look, he's allowed to go wherever he wants to go.
Sure.
But the idea is that that's a bad look for a guy that you want rehab in the knee, giving everything he can to try to get healthy to play in a playoff game. And rather than do that, he was down in Atlantic City ringside at a boxing match. Is that an issue or not an issue?
I don't think it's an issue, but it is a bad look, right?
I don't think it's an issue, but I'm just trying to figure out why he's not with the team.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because he's not playing. He got ruled out of the game.
You still travel with the team, and you still get treatment, but I don't know why he's not with the team.
I tell you what.
Get on the plane, his knee swells up. Whatever the case may be.
If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I want to get on the phone today to Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh, because if Philadelphia loses tonight to Tampa, Jeff Lurie, the owner, is going to be doing the same damn thing. Woo. And if you want to get to Harbaugh or Belichick first, I'm telling you right now, Jerry Jones, pick up the phone and call them today, because the Eagles are going to be calling them tomorrow.
There we go, Steelers!
And FS1.